Angry guy here, and new laws will harshly punish single mothers. New laws will harshly punish single mothers. So, I've said this before and I'll say it again, nothing lasts forever. And modern women are facing some very hard times right now as a result of the decisions that they made and the choices that they made. They chose to live the lives that they are living, and now they're facing consequences for those choices. They are facing consequences for those decisions. Men are increasingly walking away from Western society. Men are increasingly saying, you know what, we are done with this. And women thought that, well, it doesn't matter because the government will always be there for us. The government will take on the role of the provider and protector that men are leaving behind. Unfortunately, they have it's not going that well for them. Let's go ahead and jump into a video right now because I want you guys to see exactly what's happening in Florida, because Florida just passed some new laws regarding homelessness. And I kept telling you guys that, a lot of these people will be going to Tent City. Check this out.
Governor Ron DeSantis made two major announcements that is, for Miami Beach. One is a new plan to fight homelessness across our state.
CBS News Miami's Terry Hornstein walking us through it this morning from Miami Beach. What is the goal with this, Terry?
Yeah, good morning, Chelsea and Betty. Well, the governor says the goal really here is an aim to maintain law and order as well as combat homelessness. But, there are some critics. Well, they say that the proposal here lacks compassion.
People that live in Miami Beach, people that live anywhere in the state of Florida, I take it as like kind of the dad test. Like, can I just take my kids and just walk down the street to see shop? You should be able to do that every place without having to worry about homeless or being accosted by somebody.
Governor Ron DeSantis in Miami Beach Monday discussing a bill that would ban people from camping on streets, sidewalks, or parks. Instead, those without a place to live would be allowed to stay in designated camps.
Providing financial support for communities for things like sheltering, also for things to try to address some of the mental health problems that we see with people on the street.
Miami Beach already has a ban on public camping, but in October, the city passed a new ordinance allowing police to arrest homeless people who sleep outside and refuse shelter. The board chairman of the Homeless Trust says he's not a fan of creating homeless encampments, but he's glad to see lawmakers put a focus on the problem.
The encampment issue is just a starting point to begin the dialogue on what all other 66 counties can do, similar to what we are doing in Miami-Dade. We're light years ahead of the rest of the world. We're light years ahead of the other 66 counties in our state in making a difference.
Yeah, you just heard from Ron Book there, and he says that Miami-Dade County, as you just heard, is really ahead of the rest of the country here. So that is some good news. But this bill, we'll have to see what happens in the future with it. If it does pass, it would become law and go into place in October. We're live for you this morning in Miami Beach. Terry Hornstein, CBS News, Miami.
Okay, we'll stay on top of that. Thank you.
Definitely. Governor Ron DeSantis says he will step in to help Miami Beach to handle spring break.
So, guys, this is pretty interesting, and unfortunately, people are not paying attention. I told you this was coming. What this actually means is that modern women, they won't be able to stay in the streets if they don't have a place to live with their children. Single mothers, for example, where are they going to be going? They're going to be going to homeless encampments. And notice they said that Florida is ahead of the rest of the country. People can't pay these rents. They looked at inflation recently. The numbers came out, and they were very dismayed. All the political people, all the strategists, all the economists were frightened when they saw that rents actually have continued to skyrocket up. Inflation has continued to rise, but on top of that, rents have continued to rise to unbelievable heights. People cannot afford to pay these rents on top of record high inflation. So how are people surviving? They're surviving off credit cards. And eventually we're going to see a credit bust as people cannot pay this money back. So people living off debt right now, that's what most people are doing. Most people are living off debt. You're going to see a massive bust. What's going to happen to these single mothers? They can't go homeless. They can't be in the streets. So you're going to have a lot of single women and single mothers who are now going to end up going to these encampments, and they can be arrested if they are not off the streets. You see, men understand how to survive. Men will find a way to survive. Men will find somewhere to go. When women end up homeless, they don't have any, unless they can find a man to take them in, or they can find the shelter, they're done for. And a lot of them, they don't have, they say they love being in the streets. Well, guess what? You're going to end up in an encampment. And the truth is that a lot of these, this is where things get crazy. A lot of these police officers, here's what's going to happen. Here's what they didn't tell you in the story. They will arrest them, but then where are they going to go after they release them? They're going to take them straight to the encampment. And just because you are under arrest or you are detained just because you're under arrest doesn't mean that your ultimate destination is an encampment. Because guys, they're not going to arrest these people and then just set them free back to the streets. Like this is the future for single mothers right here. This is the start of it. This is the start of the encampments. I talked about tent cities. I talked about Tyrone will be the king of tent city. Y'all thought this was a joke. I've been talking about it for years. But guys, I told you the events of 2020 slowed things down a bit. They slowed things down a bit because, I talked about the great V collapse of 2020. And as a result of the events of 2020, people got stimulus checks. And, as a result of that, it reduced the value of our money. And there were a lot of people trying to live off that for years. But guess what? That money is gone now. Everyone's living off credit. All right. And women are living entirely off the simp economy. I have a video coming out for you guys very soon where I basically illustrate that most women are now living they're now opening up OnlyFools and OnlyFans accounts to survive. Like it's one of the biggest growing things right now. And these women who are doing this, they won't be able to return to their normal jobs. They are being fired by their jobs. They are being fired and blacklisted. And there are these social ranking systems that exist in the world right now, where they're secret social ranking systems. And they basically check social media. That's what employers are using. They check your social media. They check all of these things to find out where you've been, what you've done. And the moment they find out that you've been mixed up with OnlyFans, OnlyFools, you're blacklisted. You cannot even get a job at McDonald's. You will not be able to find a job after that. And most people don't know about this. They're not going to hire you at Walmart doing this. Forget about $20 an hour. You can't even make 15. And you are going to be stuck doing this type of thing forever. And a lot of these women, they're only making a few $1,000s a month at best. I've said this already, that they sold out their futures for instant gratification in the present. And that is the reality. And here's another great point: is they did stop permanent alimony in Florida, and now a bunch of other states are rushing to pass similar bills that will ban lifetime alimony. Don't forget that in Tennessee, they've now made it fraudulent, paternity fraud, a crime. And you can get a misdemeanor for that. A lot of you are like, well, it's nothing. It's just a misdemeanor. Guys, there was nothing before. Before, it was not even, if a woman, if a woman put the wrong guy's name on a birth certificate before and admitting to do it, and it was clear that she had done it because, wrongfully. For example, a lot of women put the wrong person's name on the birth certificate so that she can qualify for public assistance and other benefits, right? And this is something that we've known for a long time, and women have admitted to it. And some of you will say, well, she knew that this guy was how are you going to prove that she didn't know this guy was the father or not? Oh, it's pretty simple. For example, let's say a woman gets pregnant. This is guys, use your heads. A woman gets pregnant. She has a baby. The baby is, and let's say, she has a baby, she has the baby, and now she puts another guy's name on the birth certificate. Well, here's the thing: the guy can simply turn around and say, well, she just put my name on the birth certificate, but me and her, we were together a year ago. We were together last October, and it's now December of the next year, so that's not adding up right there. It takes 9 months for a baby to gestate. So there was something else happening in between. And oh, it slipped my memory. Okay, how about this one? You know, you're saying that I'm the father 2 years after we were together. Oh, I got the time frame mixed up. Wait, you didn't remember that you were not with me 9 months ago? Like, guys, you don't realize just how serious this new paternity fraud law is, because most of the women who are doing this, they are putting guys down who they were intimate with long before they were pregnant. So all these guys have to say is, bro, it's been 1 year since we were together, and you put my name down as the father. Obviously, you knew I could not be the father. Okay, you were pregnant for 9 months, but we were together a year ago, or a little more than a year ago. So there's no way I could have been the father. Oh, I don't know math. I don't know basic math. I just don't know. I didn't do it deliberately. I just, it was, the time frame was still kind of close, and you see where I'm going with this, guys, right? Like, it's a load of BS. It's an absolute load of BS. And again, a lot of women will still get caught, because they're going to put down they're going to put down guys who they were intimate with 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. They're going to write down these, an old boyfriend's name, and or some guy that never was intimate with them. It's not as easy as you think anymore. It's not as easy as you think. A lot of them are going to end up in jail, because it's going to be obvious and outright deliberate fraud. And the thing is that a lot of the time with these types of cases where, it goes unpunished and unreported for, so, guys, someone is going to make an example of a lot of these women. All right. Sure. Many of them will get away, but they're going to get misdemeanors for this. They're going to get a misdemeanor. And there's going to be some judge who's going to say, yeah, you know what? You have multiple children and you've been doing this for years. I'm sending you to jail. And what you also need to take into consideration is that these felonies can be upgraded. These misdemeanors can be upgraded. So if you have a woman who's done this multiple times, for example, you have these birth certificates, and you go through all the different birth certificates. She has 4 kids, and the name on all of the birth certificates is wrong. And all they have to do is say, when was the last time? When were you intimate with this man? And the man basically starts doing his math and going, well, I wasn't with her during this time period. And they'll say, and the judge says, okay, so Mrs. So-and-so, he wasn't with you. And we can show here the records. He wasn't living with you at this time. Okay. So he was not with you at this time, and yet you're saying, and that was 2 years before you got pregnant. So how is this man the father? Judge, it slipped my mind. I'm so sorry, Judge. It slipped my mind. I didn't mean to do it. I don't know how this happened. Okay, what about this birth certificate? Because this birth certificate also has the wrong man on here. And if we compare the time frames, it still doesn't add up. And they're just going to go through one after the other, crying and breaking down. They're going to end up in jail. And you know what? And it can be upgraded. And they're going to say, listen, we see a pattern. This is a pattern. What, 4? You've done this 4 times now. Okay. And you're pregnant right now. I'm sorry, but this is a serious situation where I'm going to upgrade these charges to a felony. All right. And a lot of these women who commit serial paternity fraud, they're going to end up with felonies, and they're going to go to prison. And when they get out of prison, many of them are heading to Tent City, because this is not a game. Regardless of who the next president is, it doesn't matter who the next president is. Okay? It does not matter who the next president is. This is happening regardless. The country has no money for this. And we've seen exactly what happens when you just print money out of thin air. The Fed is basically raising interest rates and you're going to leave them firm to buy as much time as possible. And the crazy thing about it is that I truly believe it's possible not only are the Feds not going to lower interest rates anytime soon, it is possible that the Feds may actually end up raising interest rates even further. And not just one raise, not just once, but multiple times. Unless we have some massive, unless we have a recession, a massive recession, or a recession of any kind. And to be very honest, even in a recession, because even in a recession, I don't think the Feds will lower interest rates, or not a lot. Even in a recession, because if they do lower the interest rates during a recession, that could actually lead to inflation getting even worse. Like, remember, they were raising interest rates to try to cool off inflation. But if they lower interest rates during a recession, it doesn't not necessarily mean that it's going to improve the economy. What it would very likely do is it would cause interest rates to continue going back. It would cause inflation to go up even more. So inflation would skyrocket up even more. Think about the logistics of this. So you could potentially see the Feds actually still, like, even in a recession, you could see the Feds like trying to raise interest rates, because that's like one of the few options that they have to keep inflation in check. We're living in a whole different era right now. MK is in the chat making fun, laughing about this, saying tent city or prison. But tent city and prison, tent city or prison, they're almost one and the same. Like tent city, they're almost one and the same. Tent city is no joke. It's a disgusting place. Like, this is, guys, think about this carefully. I told you, once these people go into these encampments, they don't come out. You think they're going to allow these homeless people out of these encampments that have been doing? No, they're not. They're encampments. These people will not be able to come out of these encampments. There will be cops, security, maybe even military in some cases outside of these encampments. They can't just walk in and walk out. They will be constantly monitored. They'll be in there getting like social workers. I told you, they go into these encampments and they'll be assigned a social worker, and the media will try to glorify it like they're finally getting the help that they need. Bro, it's a miserable thing in there. And let me tell you something about these encampments. A lot of people get very sick in there. And that's where things like TB spread very quickly. So you can get very sick in these places because most of the people that are in these places are very, very sick. When you go to like a lot of homeless shelters, most of the people in there, they are very, very sick. These are people who don't take care of themselves. Guys, it's so strange. America is such a strange place. Like, a lot of these people, they are homeless because they choose to be homeless. They really are. For example, if you're broke and you don't have any money, guess what? You qualify for Medicaid. I was shocked when, around 10 years ago, I was homeless, and I was shocked to discover that there were all these homeless people that had money. They were getting checks. A lot of these people were collecting Social Security. All right. Social Security disability, SSI. They were getting nice fat checks. So check this out. They were getting checks, they were getting food stamps, and they qualified for health insurance. And yet these people were homeless for long periods of time. You know the reason why? Because they chose to be. There was a lady that I knew, and she basically lived in a shelterish environment. And I was shocked to discover when she basically revealed to me that she was collecting money, but it made perfect sense because she was like in her 60s, her early 60s. So she was like getting like a pension maybe and Social Security. So she actually had a good amount of money. She had a pretty decent amount of money, but she wasn't saving any of it. So she was collecting that, I believe she may have been eligible for food stamps, and Medicaid. And by the way, she also had a bachelor's. She was actually a nurse. She was a nurse. But a lot of these people, they don't want to work anymore. She was not too old for nursing. She could have went right back in to the nursing field, just to let you know. She was not too old. She was in great shape. She used to always have her hair done, makeup done. She looking prestige in a homeless shelter. And the crazy thing is that she made a choice. She made a very conscious decision that she would remain homeless, but she would look extravagant being homeless. And she would rather sleep in a homeless shelter than actually take that money, get a place to live, because she was getting more than enough money to do this. This is the craziest thing about women. Guys, women will stay in the streets and be homeless in the streets just so that they can afford and pay for their makeup and their illicit substances and everything else, than to rent a place to live, than to get a place to live. They would rather stay on this. This is how the mindset of a woman works. And this woman, she had told me her story. And she had been a very beautiful woman in her life. And she had dated politicians. And she told me about a specific politician who, turned out he wasn't even like batting for our team. Like he was batting for the other team. And she told me about this. Like she had been a very beautiful woman, and she's one of these people who lived off her looks, and she lived off the simp economy. And she was highly educated, but guess what? When you live that type of lifestyle for a very long time, you become entitled. She was a good person. She was pretty good to me, but she was entitled. She was absolutely entitled. And whenever we would talk about responsibility and accountability, suddenly she would become senile. Y'all, I am not messing with you. I am not messing with you. Whenever we would talk about how she ended up homeless and all of these other things, she would become senile. Oh, this, I didn't even know it was happening. And oh my God, I'm an old woman suddenly. Bro, you are not an old woman. Look at you. You still look great you still look absolutely phenomenal for your age. Just let's put that out there. Okay? And you're playing, and you really want to play this game, bro? You have a check. And guys, almost every bit of her money, this woman, she would spend all of that money on makeup, fake up, getting her hair done, her nails done, because mommy has to get her manicure, mommy has to get her pedicure, mommy has to buy new clothes. After everything is bought and paid for, there's really no money for food and anything else. There's no money. This is the life that she was living. This is the insane, disgusting life that she was living. She could have gotten off the street at any moment. She could have moved in to, she could have rented a small studio or a room at any moment. She chose not to. At one point, she did. She told me this because little things came out. At one point, she was living somewhere, and then she couldn't do it anymore because she would rather sleep on the street. She'd rather live in a shelter than have to pay rent, budget money, and then potentially go back into the workforce. Yeah, you heard me right. She would go back into the workforce. Nope. She'll continue living in a shelter, living this lifestyle where she can have get her makeup done, constantly, look like she's awesome, buy new clothing, and have someone else subsidize her living, provide her with food, provide her with shelter, provide her with health care, living off Simps, charity, and the state. This is how she was living. And she would not stop doing this, all right? At 60 or pushing 60, she would not stop doing this. She would not give up the life. And a lot of women lived like her. I was shocked when I saw so many women out there. They would live in tents, and then they would go and buy whatever they wanted. This is the reality. And these women are heading to Tent City. these same women are heading to Tent City. Okay, there's not going to be any if, ands, or buts about it. They're going to be in tent cities. You know, this comment, get off her butt and do some serious adulting, bro. What are you talking, dude? If a person is pushing 60 years old, do you think they can change? I'm not disagreeing with you, but think about the logistics of this, bro. At pushing 60 years old, if they lived off the simp economy their entire lives, she lived an entitled life her entire life. She was dating politicians, some of the biggest politicians in the United States. Do you? And she was getting things for free, being taken to the largest hotels, like events. Do you really think that this woman is going to change? Of course not. She can't change. Can't stop, won't stop. These types of people will never change. That's why a lot of these, and they end up pregnant, they end up with children, and here's the thing: the passport kings are all leaving the US. The men with money are all leaving the US. They're either going off the grid or working just as much as they have to, and that's it, to thrive by themselves, or they're fleeing the United States and not coming back, not looking back. These men are refusing to come back to the US. These men would rather struggle overseas and figure it out overseas than step foot back in the United States. All of these men that are going, they just basically shrug, even if they don't have money like that. MK, think about this, guys. MK Fitness left the US. He left the US, right? And he didn't have a lot of money when he left. He had something saved. He didn't have, but he wasn't rich. And he went over to the Philippines, and he talks about it like a plan, but it worked. And now he's working remotely and he's building up his money from the Philippines. I want you guys to think about how irritated and frustrated and absolutely done with America some men have to be to take this kind of risk, to take this kind of chance, to go to another country, not really having a lot of money, not knowing what to expect, but saying, you know what, I'd rather go with God than stay here. And of course, women don't care. They say they don't care. But let me tell you something. When the suffering starts to set in, a lot of them are going to be screaming and hollering and crying and blaming men and blaming God and everyone else in between. And it won't matter, because these men are gone. These men are done with Western society. These men are not coming to they're not coming to their rescue anymore. Sheikh says that more than 200 million Americans are jobless. And listen to me. What happens is that when you drop out of the workforce and you stop looking, if you stop looking for work, they say that you're no longer unemployed. That's what they say. Guys, America's not the way things are going in the United States, it's not going to last. Okay? It's not going to last. We do not live in a democratic society. We do not live in a republic. We live in a federal corporation. This is a federal corporation. And there is no way that it can last. There's no heart, there's no soul, there's nothing. This is a corporation. And more people are realizing increasingly that, you know what? They're realizing that it's rigged. They're realizing that the whole damn thing is rigged, and they're fed up. They're done with it. Punk says, that's what I did. Left USA and never coming back. Guys, how bad does it have to be for a man who doesn't even have doesn't even have his stuff together, to say, I'd rather go with God overseas, and if something happens over there, it happens, but I can't do America anymore. I cannot do America anymore. Because, and you know what, here's the thing, the quality of life, even if you're broke and poor overseas, the quality of life is just better. Because there are a lot of people in these countries, natives, they live in these countries, Mexico, Philippines, whatever, Thailand. They don't have a lot of money, but they're happy. Because they don't have the level of stress that we have in Western society. They can go out, I talk about Little Pancho a lot, but it's true. You have a lot, you go back to his country and you have a lot of Little Panchos, and they're enjoying their lives. They don't. The reason they choose, guys, they choose to do this type of handyman work and digging holes and ditches. They choose to do that work because for them it's easy. They only work as much as they have to, so they can afford their tacos, their tequila, their Corona, and and a roof over their heads, if even that. Because some of them sleep on the street and they live as easy and simple as they can, and they are happy because they don't have any stress and they clap plenty of cheeks. Guys, here's the thing about reality, right? And many of you don't, you have to acknowledge this. A lot of the guys clapping cheeks are not Chads. A lot of the guys who are clapping cheeks are men who have no real value in society, but all they do is go around from woman to woman. So you have to understand that these guys are, a lot of them are degenerates. But the reason why they're so good at getting into relationships, or I shouldn't say relationships, but these, becoming physically intimate with women, is because, there's no prospects of these men actually marrying these women, although they often get them pregnant. The reality is that, these are F boys. But of course, these are the men that these women also love. These are the guys that they love. And they spend all their time just going from woman to woman and living this type of life. So for a woman, these guys are exciting. These guys don't spend a dime on a woman. These men will never spend a dime on a woman. But women find these guys increasingly exciting because these guys are, they'll take them through a series of emotions. They're just there to mess around with, talk crap with, hang out with, It's like these guys are so chill. But you have to understand that's because they bring nothing to society. They bring nothing to the world. They offer literally nothing they have nothing. They are not people of value. And yet, again, these are the men that women love. But these guys, they live very simple lives, very easy lives. Men who actually have to work hard and put something forward to build something, they know, what I'm talking about. You can't be out, if you spend all your time chasing women, eventually you're going to get good at becoming physically intimate with women. If you spend all your time studying to be a physician, eventually you're going to learn something about being a doctor. You spend all your time learning law, you're going to learn something about law, but we don't have unlimited amounts of time in this world. And you'll notice that most of the guys, it's not always like this, but in most cases, most of the guys that spend all their time chasing women, they're not successful in other areas of their lives. They really are not. And then, sometimes you'll see these guys on social media. You'll see Chad on social media that's basically acting like he's a high value man, but then he's telling you that he'll sell you a course to learn how to do exactly what he's doing. The truth is that that's all he knows how to do. You think Chad knows anything about crypto? You think Chad knows basic math? You think Chad can barely read and write? Because just like the women that he's been chasing, he's never had to develop himself as a man. So he's lived life on easy mode. And now he needs to survive. So how does he survive? He survives by trying to convince men who've actually worked on themselves, created value, and built a steady income, savings, investments. He's going to turn around and trying to convince these men that now they can be like him, in reality, he has no other skill sets. You see these videos all over the place. You see them all over YouTube from these men trying to sell you a course, teaching you how to get a woman so that you can be just like them. And they're pretending like they're highly successful and they're masters of business. They don't know a damn thing about business. They can't run a business. All right. They're all basically trying to sell you something so that they can eat. And they're trying to pretend to be something that they're not. These guys don't know anything about actually being successful. It's the truth. And then you find out sometimes that these dudes don't live anywhere. Like they have nothing, they live nowhere, they have no income, they have no value. A lot of these dudes, you'll find, guys, you'll be surprised when you see there's a lot of homeless Chads. Do you know how many handsome homeless men I saw in the streets? There are a lot of handsome homeless men sleeping on the streets. And you'll see like a lot of dudes, like they're older now and everything, but you can look at their face and you can tell like this dude used to be really homeless, really handsome. In fact, he's still handsome, but now he's like 50 in his 50s or 60s. And you're like, damn, if this dude just like shaved and like fixed himself up, bro would be a total Chad even at this age. And you're like, oh, that yeah, I get it now. And then you ask questions like, what did you do in life? What kind of work did you do? And they start to like kind of like go in circles, and even in the streets, you have women that are going and hanging out with them and hooking up with them. But these guys have no value whatsoever. They have no value whatsoever. They're literally just there for the purpose. They're plant S guys. Like, Robert says PUA is BS scam. The MGTOWs, they used to call PUAs, beggars. They used to say that these men are begging women for V. They say that these guys were V beggars. They were they were golden V beggars. They were begging women for V. They were pest. And that's exactly what it is. You know, like going out in the streets, like, could you give me some, please? I just need a little bit, you know, like just pity me with a little bit. I'm starving. I'm just starving for a little bit. Like, I'm telling you, it's a sad, it's a sad reality, but it's true. Everything I'm telling you is absolutely true. Oh boy. Let me see here. T says that as a godfather, I do look out for my babies. That's good. Robert says, I'm grateful for Chad and Tyrone. I get so much done while women are busy. The thing is that you say this, but these women are furious right now. They're getting furious. This is why they're coming after Passport Kings, because the Passport Kings are leaving Western society, and these are the men that they need to subsidize their lives off after, after they're finished in the streets. And they're never really, a woman is never really finished in the streets, because she will, she was, the streets. In every little girl there is the streets, and a lot of you hate when I say this, but then I can show you videos of women saying things like, this whole thing with the streets started off when they were young. Like by 12 years old, they started going to the streets, and it's like the streets were calling out to them. And then if you don't like me presenting that reality and telling you the truth, and you can hear these women saying it themselves, like the streets is calling out to them. It's a very unfortunate thing. The reason why is because men and women live in very different realities, very, very different realities. And the reality is that women live life on easy mode. They're bailed out of every bad decision that they make. At 18 years old, the typical woman becomes a millionaire, and she basically lives off her looks. Imagine going around just existing. You are given free things just for existing. You are given free meals just for existing. Your cell phone bill is paid just for existing. You're allowed to buy expensive things just for existing. You are given first class tickets, so men will pay for you to travel first class, to go to and stay at an expensive hotel just for existing. How crazy is this? I mean, a man will work his entire life just so he can stay, eat at a five-star restaurant or stay at a five-star hotel. And then you have a 19-year-old who's done this multiple times before she even turned 19. Like, this is how, and men do not know these things. Men are ignorant to the lives of women. Men are completely ignorant to the way that women live. Men are ignorant to how easy life is for a woman. And as a result, women use this ignorance to their advantage. And I'm just being completely honest about it. Let's see what you guys are saying here. King says those women want men like that so they can control them. All modern women want to control men. All modern women want to control men. They just want men that will hand them money. They just want men that will hand them money and then go back out and keep on working while they're hooking up with Little Poncho. While Little Poncho is coming in, clapping the cheeks, and that's that. That's how modern women operate. That's how modern women think. I've said this countless times. She will never love you. She will never love you. She can love things about you. She can love what you can do for her. She can love the things that you have. But, she can even love certain little qualities about you. But she will never actually love you as a person. Because the only things that are loved unconditionally in this world are women, pets, and babies. Okay? And that's it. Those are the only things that are loved unconditionally. The Migglypuffs, they were right about this. They called marriage long term. They called it a long term contractual obligation where you're basically trading, value. So you're trading money for physical intimacy, and it's a long term arrangement. And then the woman walks away with half your stuff at the end of it. And they were right. They were absolutely right. You look at modern day society and it's disgusting. And there is no reason. I mean, guys, only 2% of men are still getting married. 98% of men are no longer getting married in Western society. All right. And that number is only growing. 98% of men are no longer getting married. David bridal showers went bankrupt. If you notice, you don't see a lot of marriages happening anymore. The media will talk about this stuff, but the reality is like, oh, they try to act like marriage is still happening when in reality it isn't. Men have rushed away. Okay, they have walked away from marriage. Most men are no longer even looking for dates. 75% of men have completely opted out of marriage, dating, and relationships. They are no longer marrying, dating, or having relationships. 75%. And there are a lot of you that say that number is still too low. But you have to think about it right now. 75% of men know they will no longer go on dates. They are no longer seeking relationships or want to have relationships. They are no longer marrying. 75%. That's massive. That's absolutely massive. And it's only skyrocketing up. 98% of men are no longer marrying. And as time, don't get me wrong, guys, as time continues to go on, when more of these M2 false claims and all the other stuff, that number is only going to go up further as more men are going to completely opt out of dating. So eventually we're going to get to that 90%. And what's interesting is that when we start to get to 90%, 80, 90%, once we start to get to like 90% of men that stop dating, that's when you're going to really see and avoiding relationships, because a lot of these men are basically also saying, well, if we're not dating we're not dating, not having relationships, well, guess what? That's usually how friend zoning works, because a guy, he goes out looking for a girl and then the girl friend zones him. But if these men are no longer looking for dates, they're no longer establishing relationships, then that means that's fewer men to friend zone, and that's fewer men to access through the simp economy. So unless you're willing to go on OnlyFools and LonelyFans, which most women are at this point, and basically busted wide open, you're gonna be out of luck. And women are shocked that men are no longer approaching them. Men are no longer approaching women in society. They're not walking up to women. They're not speaking to women. Okay, and women are surprised that this is happening. It's a rough reality. And then, as you can see, Gen Z, like young women, they are passing away faster than any previous generation. Young women are passing away faster than men. Women today are now passing away faster than men, specifically young women. So Gen Zers and young millennial women between the ages of 18 and 34 are passing away faster than any other group of people in the United States. Think about this very carefully. They are, guys, God has given them over to their sins. God has given them over to their sins. They chose this, and there's no going back. And these women, they have no femininity. As more men are observing what's happening with the passport kings, they can go overseas and find a woman who is fit, feminine, and friendly. And a lot of men have never been exposed to femininity in their entire lives. Just because a woman is feminine doesn't make her a good person. But most men have never experienced what femininity actually is in their entire lives. They see what the passport kings are getting. They're like, you know what? Yeah, we're not putting up with this. We're just going to go. The simps are running overseas. And the women are furious. The women are absolutely furious because that's one less simp for them. And they're taking that income and they're leaving. And when these men, even with these simps, a lot of these simps don't learn their lessons. They go overseas, they get into a relationship with a Filipina. Filipina screws them over after 10 years, and then they just get into another relationship with another one. It's the truth, you know, and they don't come back. And modern women are losing. The simp economy is starting to drain. And selling yourself for $9.99 a month is ridiculous, because most of these women, like, they don't what they don't tell you is that it's not sustainable. Only Fools and Lonely Fans is not sustainable. Things happen. And then, you have these women who are making, let's say, $100,000 on Only Fools and Lonely Fans, and then the entire thing falls apart. You have some women who made over $1 million on Only Fools and Lonely Fans, but then the entire thing fell apart, and now they owe large amounts of money to the government that they can't pay back taxes. They purchased a house they can't afford, and they've destroyed their name, so they can't find a job anywhere. They can't even get a job at IHOP. And what guy wants to be in a relationship with them? What guy, what decent guy actually wants to marry them, or even say that this is my girlfriend? And the truth is that, like, women will try to explain away anything, but if you're with a good man and you don't tell this guy that you used to be on Only Fools or Lonely Fans, and then, I mean, just imagine you marry someone and they don't know you were on Lonely Fools and Lonely Fools or Lonely Fans. Yeah, tongue twister there, tongue tied. And they find out. A lot of these men are going to divorce these women. They're going to divorce these women. They're not going to stay with them. They find out what her past is, and the woman is going to be like, "Oh, you never loved me in the first place. If you would let something like that, something small like that, destroy our relationship, you never loved me in the first place." Yeah, I don't know how many people are going to agree with her. Other women will agree with her, but in reality, anyone who's reasonable is going to say, "No, bro, you were involved in some really bad stuff, and this can jeopardize his job, his life, everything." Because once you get married, everything becomes intertwined, and women think that they have a right to your wealth, your resources. No, I'm telling you guys, it's nothing. King says, "I don't want my pancakes from IHOP smelling like fish." Women in Western society have made themselves extremely unlikable. And then you have women like Soraya. Soraya is awesome, but you have women like Soraya who will go on. She shames these women. She shames them, and she says terrible. She talks about the hygiene thing constantly too. I've talked about how bad the hygiene when it comes to women in Western society is compared to foreign women. And Soraya has made at least one video talking about how bad the hygiene is of women in Western society. A lot of women in Western society. She was specifically talking about Western women and the hygiene. And that's that's traumatizing to a lot of men, because then a lot of dudes are like, "Yeah, I can't do this, bro. I can't do this anymore. All right, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go." Because when you just factor in the bad hygiene, it's just like, nope. And a lot of women know this. The Filipina, Soraya is doing this. She's in Germany. A lot of Filipinas are doing this. They talk about the fact that how much they talk about how they clean themselves up, how they wash after they poop, and they talk about how much the men love it. I saw a video by this Filipina, and she goes, "After we poop, we wash the back and we wash the front, and the men, they love it." Like, this is how nasty it is at this point. This is how nasty it is at this point. And Soraya was there talking about what to look for in the toilet. Like, you go to her bathroom and you see certain things there. You don't have to put up with that. Look at her refrigerator. Look how nasty is the refrigerator. Look at the hot guys. I am telling you, like, women will get like Soraya, it's just a start. This is literally just a start. I saw a video with Melanie King. She's American, but she was on Just Pearly Things, and she started going after American women. And and she talked about her own personal hygiene and how she struggled with hygiene issues when she was growing up, and her father used to put her in check and tell her that she smelled bad. And it was because of her father why she started to carry herself better, and she started to clean herself up better. But then she started talking about American women and how American women in Western society, like you go to the bathroom and there's a terrible smell in there. You go to the bathroom and you have to leave immediately because you can't be in there after them. Like, and I remember when I was in college, and a woman made this statement about it. Like she said something along the lines of, you can automatically know it's the women's restroom if there's like, if there are menstrual products and it stinks in there. It's like just like, what the heck is going on? King is terrible. King said women in the States wipe from the back to the front with a moist towel and and go about their business. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, jeez. Jeez, and MK is there tossing in, that's nasty. Ew. Jesus help us, Jesus help us, Jesus help us. I don't know. I don't want to talk like this is, I don't know, man. I don't know, bro. Like this is why we need strong, we need good pair, we need men in the house because women are not cutting it. Women can't even take care. They cannot take care of themselves. They don't even know how to keep their pH in check. Like it's crazy. They don't even know what that means. They don't even know what that means. I've heard this from janitors too, like saying that the women's restroom is always the absolute worst. Let me see here. Robert says, at Dalek, I used to be a janitor. It's worse than you can imagine. I've heard janitors say that the women's restroom is absolutely terrible. I remember I used to rent an apartment from this. I used to rent an apartment from this old Polish lady, and she told me that she did not rent to women, at least not much, not young women, because she said that they kept her apartments in such terrible shape that she would only rent to men. She would only rent to men or old women. And she was 100% true to her word. She was a very lovely person. It was her son owned a bunch of properties, and then she was the manager for all of the properties. But she was she was very, very bad. She was not bad. I loved her. I thought she was a great person, but she was very, very serious. Like, she judged people. She really judged people based on their character. But when it came to women, especially younger women, she didn't judge them based on their character. She judged them based on their gender. And I'm just being real with you. She just would not deal with them ever again. And you know what it is? It's a part of it is that men also have honor. For example, if a man rents an apartment, he's more likely to ensure that the last month's rent is paid. He's more likely to ensure that he doesn't skip out on the bill. Women skip out. The women completely, they don't care. They're like, oh well, I didn't pay the rent. Oh well, I'm behind 3 months. It doesn't matter. I don't care. That's it. And you will never get that money. You will never get that money. And that's the end of it. And women think they can keep on getting away with it and living this way. They don't realize they are running out of options. They are running out of men. They are running out of people because we live in this, guys, a society with no trust cannot function. You cannot have a functioning society where in a society where there is zero trust between men and women, between people in general. There's nothing. You cannot have a functioning society. And as you can see, guys, we live in an absolute dystopia. We are in the dystopia. There's no, oh my gosh, what will a dystopia? There's no dystopic future. We are in the dystopia, and the lunatics are trying to act like everything is hunky dory, and they need to continue maintaining the status quo. And and they're just finding new ways to torment us each and every single passing day. But I did tell you guys, nothing lasts forever, and there are now cracks. There are now cracks. There are cracks coming through. The content, help get the channel to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video again. You guys need to do that. Let me read some of this. Vertis says, yeah, I've always paid and lived super cheap in a car garage or in a living room. Most women don't have honor. Honor is something that men have, and women have no problem just like abandoning responsibility and never taking accountability. That's how women operate because they live lives on easy mode. You know, Dalek says Kevin Samuel said women don't know how to change a battery in a fire alarm. This is, but that is, it's the truth. It's the honest to goodness truth. The average woman has everything done for her, even the most basic of basic things. Women can't do it. Like most women today are looking for men to come home and fix dinner for them. Like they get into a relationship with a man, and he better have money for Uber Eats or DoorDash, or once he gets home from work, he needs to go into the into the kitchen and do his Chef Boyardee thing or whatever you want to call it. But there needs to, but he better put food on the table because she won't be doing it, but she is going to be eating. Like that's the reality of, like, these are hyper masculine women, you know, and it's an unfortunate reality, but that's just the reality that we live in. Oh, someone said, let me see here. What do you guys said? If do you have Cash App? Delect says, do you have Cash App? Yeah, bro, I do have Cash App. I did just put it on the screen. Let me see if I can get it back up there for you guys if you're curious about it. My Cash App. So that's my Cash App right there. Angry guy MWA. Yeah, if you want to, if you're curious, you can find it right there, and I'll probably copy it and paste it into the chat for you if you want it. You know, but I mean, this is just the reality we live in Western society. Here you go, put it right there for you. Men are sick of it, and these women, guys. Something I should talk about also is that that when it comes to being a marriageable man, the ability to find a man that is willing to marry, as you can see, 98% of men are no longer marrying. And the men that will actually get married, they're going overseas and marrying the women overseas. A lot of men who also go overseas are not going over there to get married. Many of them are not even going over there to date. They're just going over there to fight, to leave the US and find peace and find new opportunities. And as I said, these men will begin to build their empires outside of the West. They will build their empires all around the world, which is the thing that men have been doing for a very long time. That's how it always has been. But society, modern society, made men complacent, and a lot of men stopped traveling. They stopped viewing, going into other parts of the world and creating opportunities for them in the rest of the world, which is something that men historically did. The passport kings, the men who are actually willing to get married, they're leaving. They're going overseas, creating creating new economies, new building empires, and they're finding wives overseas. And the thing is that they don't want women in Western society. So the few men that are still willing to get married and have the capacity and capability to get married, women are losing these men willing to even get into relationships. I told you, the future is literally this: men living dirt cheap in the United States. They have their homes in other countries. They have their girlfriends in other countries. If they have wives, they have their wives in other countries. They have their kids in other countries. I've met a bunch of men who do this. I've met tons of men who do this. And they work in the U.S. They live dirt cheap. They will live in a van if they have to. They send all of their money. They put all of their money in the bank. They have businesses overseas. Yes, they have businesses overseas, and that's it. And that's it. And then they fly out of the U.S. whenever they want to. And when they fly out, some of these guys fly first class. You heard me, first class. They fly back. Some of these guys fly first class. That's because they're frequent travelers and they live good lives. And I told you that's going to be the new order, where guys will live dirt cheap. And if when they want to go on dates, when they want to go chill, they will fly out of the US and fly to the Dominican Republic, fly to Mexico, fly to Costa Rica, fly to Jamaica, doesn't matter. They will fly to some other country, and they will have homes there that are rented out, and they will go there and they will chill there, and they will be happy there. And that's just going to be the reality of it. And guys, women did this to themselves. They chose this reality for themselves. They said they didn't want these men, and now look at the reality of it. Yeah. Shout out to Dalek. You said sent me a little cash. Yeah, bro. Thank you so much. He said for testing your dress. Yeah, bro. I got your cash, dude. Thank you. Yeah, it's a this is the reality. This is the reality. Women shows this for themselves though, but they don't want to live with the consequences. And you can see this, guys. Women don't like us. They do not like us. You don't treat someone as poorly as you do. You know, if someone likes you, they don't treat you this way. If someone is attracted to you, they don't make physical intimacy transactional. Someone talked about these Christians, and some of the Christians were coming after me in the comments. But it's true. You have these Christian men that are trying to get other men to go and get married, while their wives are only being physically intimate with them once a year on their birthdays. And these are the same dudes that are trying to convince men to go and get married. Like, oh, if you don't get married, then you have no other purpose in life. Here's the thing: there's some people who like literally step in and say, bro, guess what? You know, marriage is between God, man, and a woman. The state has nothing to do with marriage. And they can't argue about this. The moment that you involve the state, that is no longer marriage. That is something completely different. Shout out to Daquan B. He said sent you $10 from Emoji Mister. It's an honor to buy you two. It's an honor to buy two a damn Red Bull. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Appreciate the Red Bull money. Really appreciate that. Nate C says I'm 30 minutes from the Bahamas and I'm 1 hour and a half from represent from Dominicana, hour and a half, 4 hours from Meladin and Cartagena. Guys, this ain't a joke. This ain't a joke. I told you, these men know what's up. These men have their plans. They know what they're doing already. They already know what they're doing. You know, modern women did this to themselves. They chose this for themselves, and they're gonna have to live with the consequences. But women are not good with that. Women struggle with consequences. Women cannot take accountability for anything that they've done, but they're going to be forced to. It's so simple. Guys, I am going to take a quick bathroom break and I'll be right back. So you don't have to disappear. I'll be gone for about 5 minutes or less, but I'll put the timer on for you guys. And I'll put the timer on for you, and then we'll also put on some nice grooving music because you guys love your music. Let's see. Let's see which song is good. There we go. You guys love this one. You love this one, right? See how cool and calm that is. I will be back in 5 minutes for you guys to keep on entertaining you. I mean, guys, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever, and the sins will follow you. Sins will follow you, and a lot of women don't realize this. Highway says, "Angry, I need advice about the Philippines. I have a course coming out for you. I've got a blueprint coming out for you guys that will help you with traveling to the Philippines, learning how not to get scammed. It's going to cover a lot. I've been working on it. It's been taking me a couple of months. I keep promising it is coming out soon, so I will help you guys with that. And also, I do consultations. I'll have a link set up in the bio so that in my description, so that you guys can reach out to me to consult with me if you want to do consultations. There are specific things that you need help with that I can help you with and answer specific questions. Yeah, I mean, because there's so many things that you do need to know when traveling. I've already told you that this world it operates entirely around it operates entirely around knowledge. It's about what you know and then also who you know. You know, it's the honest to goodness truth. Highway says, I'm a Zoomer, but a Zoomer that is on track but need advice. Yeah. And you can send me an email if you already haven't, bro. You can send me an email. If we've spoken already, then I have the plan coming for you, because I know there's been at least one Zoomer that sent me an email saying, "Hey, bro, I need some help." And I told you that I have the package coming out. I have to teach you guys how to travel. And keep in mind that, don't just make up your mind on the Philippines. There's the Philippines, there's Thailand. So for example, it depends on where you go. Like Thailand, as a black guy, you can do well in Thailand, but they really like white guys in Thailand. But then you can go as a black guy, you can go to Ireland, and they literally fetishize you in Ireland. It depends on what you're looking for and what you want. And as I said, there's no need for men to fight with one another. Go where you're appreciated, go where you're celebrated. Don't scream, instead of screaming, "Oh, people don't like me here, people don't like me there." Exchange knowledge with your brothers. If you're a white guy and you go to a place where they want black men, tell the black guys, "Listen, black guys, they love you over here. They don't like white guys so much, but they love you over here." If you're a black guy and you go to a place where they don't really like black guys, but they love white guys, tell the brothers, "Hey, listen up, white guys. They don't really like black guys over here, but they love you guys over here. So this is what you need to do. This is where you need to bring yourselves." This is, guys, it's an exchange of information. This is the power of the manosphere. You go where you are appreciated, go where you are celebrated. That's how you operate. That's how you live your life. You don't fight with one another over women. You don't chase women, you replace. You don't chase, you replace. Don't ever have this attitude that you're out here looking for them. They're out here, they're out here looking for you. As men, they're out here looking for us. If we're in a place where we are not appreciated, then we go where we are appreciated and we go where we're celebrated. That's the mental state that you have to have. The man is the prize. If you're in a place where they do not value you, then you are not in the right place for you. It's as simple as that. Use your heads. God did not put you on this earth to have anyone take advantage of you and to have anyone use you. I'm just being really, really straight with you. Like, your purpose here is not to take care of a woman. Women do not own you. Women, you're not here for a woman. Our purpose is not to enrich the lives of women. And a lot of modern day women, they don't like hearing it, but it's the truth. You have them walking around saying that, the man that you're with should treat you like a celebrity. Treat her like a celebrity and she will treat you like a fan. These women don't want husbands. They want ATMs. That's why I talk about the plan B guys, plan C guys, plan D guys. D is desperate. She is only with a guy. Plan D guys who are guys who make, let's say, like maybe $40,000 to $50,000 a year. And a woman, she'll only get get into a relationship with one of these guys, just so that, like, she has a roof over her head. He could maybe, like, help set her up with a cell phone, get her back on her feet, feed her. And she has no interest in being with this guy. But, like, that's a plan D guy. That's, like, desperate. So she'll use that guy then to transition. For example, she's homeless now and she needs to get off the streets. That's the plan D guy. That's his purpose. A lot of times the plan D guy, she's not even being physically intimate with this guy. She's just taking advantage of him and using him. And then basically acting like, this is okay. And she knows that he wants to be physically intimate. And a lot of the times these guys find out exactly what's going on when they try to be physically intimate with these women, and these women are like, yeah, that's not happening. And this dude's like, bro, I brought you into my house. I fed you. I'm taking care of you. And you're telling me that I'm not getting anything out of it? And she's like, yeah, that's absolutely right. So then what are you doing here? Oh, I'm using you, but you're a nice guy, and I really appreciate that. And that's really how a lot of these women end up getting kicked back out onto the streets. But again, they use these Plan D guys until they can transition to a Plan C guy, Plan Come Up guy. These are the guys that usually make anywhere from, let's say, $75,000 to $100,000 a year. And then so they get with the Plan C guy, and that's the Plan Come Up guy. That's the guy that they're going to use to get back on their feet, rebuild themselves. That's the guy that can help build their bank accounts back up, help them rebuild their lives. And then once their life has been rebuilt and they're back on their feet and they're looking fresh and everything is good, then they will try to transition to the Plan B guy. That's the guy that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, preferably millions of dollars a year. He's at least 6 feet tall. So 6 feet tall makes more than six figures, can give them 6 inches, and has a six pack. That's the Plan B guy. And that is not the guy that they love. That is the guy that they use as a status symbol and as an ATM. Okay. And then they basically extract as much resources from this guy that, and because they are planning their divorce before they plan their wedding. And then once after everything is, said and done, they're married, everything is established, and, they have this guy locked down, then they start working on their exit and exiting the relationship and taking half his stuff and then hooking him for alimony if they can along the way. Because that's the guy they're going to use to build up the rest of their lives. That's the guy that's going to set them up for the rest of their lives. And they'll use that to then springboard from, all around. And of course, while they're with the Plan B guy, Plan B guy, Plan C guy, Plan D guy, it doesn't matter. They're, of course, going to be getting their backs blown out by Chad and Tyrone. Because that's what they do. That's how they live their lives. And it's who says all women are the same everywhere? It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. There's no woman who's better than anyone else. There's no one better than no better. Nate says Thailand, for easy residency, you need to be 50 or older and bring $24,000 invested into a bank account there or pension at $1,500 a month. This is for the year 2024. I found out through a video. So guys, you can get easy residency in Thailand, for example. Just bring $24,000 and put it into a bank account over there. Okay. Me personally, I would not do that. Or just be a pensioner at $1,500 a month. $1,500 a month? Guys, that's nothing. That's nothing at all. That's nothing at all. So there's a lot of options. MK says, this guy told me a story that he was with this woman and she wouldn't let him go the entire way because she didn't want her husband to feel her she didn't want her husband to feel sad, to feel a certain kind of way, feel her, it wouldn't be, she would want him to suspect anything. And like that's how modern women are. Like they will go to that level. Like I told guys, there's this chick, Bobby Althoff, and I told you about this woman. I can't stand her. I cannot stand Bobby. She is such a terrible person. She's interviewed like people like Mark Cuban. He's interviewed people like Mark Cuban, and the thing is, like, she said that she's not being physically intimate with her husband. Like, she hasn't been with him in ages, right? She hasn't been physically intimate with him in ages, and the thing is, like I said to you guys, if she's not being physically, she's a young woman, she's pretty good looking, and she basically said that she had been physically intimate with her husband for like 2 years. And then you realize very, very quickly that, I told you, if she's like, you think that this woman just You think that she just suddenly lost her desire to be intimate with someone? That's bullcrap. That's absolute bullcrap. I told you there was some dude smashing on the side. You know, I said it straight. I said it right off the bat. I said, listen, guys, there is some dude who is smashing on the side. Okay.
Bobbi Altoff's husband, Corey, just filed for divorce. Now, Bobbi and Corey were married back in January of 2020 and were married for about 3.5 years before they separated and no longer were living with each other in July of last year. Just so you have a reference of roughly when they were separated during Bobbi's career, this was around the time that she did her interview with Drake. Once they were separated, Corey and her were no longer living with each other for about 6 months before he officially filed for divorce this week. And before people say, oh, he's probably divorcing her so he can get a piece of the money that she made from her very successful podcast, Corey's actually a senior vice president of a very successful company, and so they're both really successful people. And alongside with that, when he filed for divorce, he checked a box saying that he doesn't want alimony, meaning that neither of them have to pay one another after the divorce. The reason that he wrote down for the divorce is that since July, they've had irreconcilable differences and that honestly, it's just not possible for them to stay together. Situations like this are extremely tough, especially since they have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old together. Now, they have filed for joint custody, but I know that that's just brutal on kids, but that's my opinion.
Guys, she's for the streets. I told you I called it before this. I said it. All of these women that are in relationships with men, right? They're in a relationship with a guy, and the guy is not being physically intimate with them. They're getting like these Christian men, for example. They're in a relationship with a 28-year-old woman or a 34-year-old woman. So think about this. She's only 34 years old. They've been married for, let's say, 4 years, 5 years, okay, 6, 7 years, and they're only physically intimate like once or twice a year. So on his birthday and maybe on Christmas if she's feeling generous. And there's this notion that, oh, women suddenly they're no longer, as they get older, they just lose attraction to the men. That's bullcrap. Women have been cheating on dudes for ages. This is what's been happening for long periods of time, where they have all these men on the side and they rationalize it in their brains as though it's not even cheating. Of course, they don't want the men to find out, and they think they're so smart because what they do is they put the name, they'll have all these different names in their phones of different women. And and they think they're clever. Like, for example, like they're going out with a guy named, they're cheating with a guy named Christopher. That's one of the guys they're cheating with. They have tons of guys they're cheating with, but they're cheating with a guy named Christopher. So they just basically put Christina in the phone, right? So also if her husband ever looks in her phone, she's talking to Christina, or or Michael, Michelle, Dave, Davina. Y'all see how corrupt these people are? This is how they operate. And they're always monkey branching as well, because not only do they have Chad and Tyrone on the side that they're going to get their backs blown out, but then they also have a bunch of other guys that are in the friend zone just waiting, or the simp zone just waiting for them to pull one of them out of it so they can monkey branch to these guys. And their husbands are so sad because their husbands aren't putting 2 and 2 together to think like, bro, your wife, she still has needs. These women are more, if look at modern day women, they are like, they can't go without it. These women cannot go without it. If they say, oh, I'm not doing it, they're lying. They can't go without it. When you have a lot of women who are like getting into relationships, becoming physically intimate with like 100 guys in a single year, and you think that modern day women can go for long periods of time without physical intimacy? No, they have all of these guys lined up, and they're just rotating them in and out. A woman will get married, come back from her honeymoon, and for example, she will tell her husband that it was her time of the month on her honeymoon, which is a lie because she was on birth control the entire time, but she just didn't want to be physically intimate with him. And then as soon as she gets back from her honeymoon, she'll say that she needs a little time to herself. And what she's really doing is she immediately runs to go see Chad or Tyrone, or both of them, so that she can be with the men that she actually loves, because she can't even stand. A lot of these men who marry women, these women don't like you so much that they can't even stand you touching them. Like, they don't even want you to touch them. They'll say things like, "Oh, don't touch me. When you touch me, I start to itch." It's not that she starts to itch. Maybe she does. The truth is that she doesn't want you to touch her. She despises you so much. She dislikes you so much. She's only in a relationship with you because she wants your money, and she's just basically bidding her time until she can monkey branch to something better or someone else while taking half your stuff or more. And a lot of these women, they despise they dislike the men that they're with so much that they cannot even touch them. They don't even want these men to touch them. They don't even want to sleep in the same room as these men. And that's why you have the thing happening in Western society now, where there are a lot of women who are they're like, we have separate rooms. Me and my husband, we have separate bedrooms. And while these type of practices exist in Japan, it's different in Japan because these are people. Just marriage is kind of weird in Japan, but I shouldn't say it's kind of weird in Japan, because even when you have separate rooms in Japan, yeah, you're in a you're in a marriage that has no physical intimacy, and that's kind of that's like just how the Japanese roll, you know. And if Mayumi was here, I don't know what she would say, but it's just like that. But if you're in a marriage in America, in our Western society, and your wife is like, I need a separate bedroom, she just that's the nicest way of saying that she's divorcing you. Like, that's a divorce. Like, when a woman in Western society, when you have separate bedrooms, when men and women have separate bedrooms in Western society, that is a divorce. You and this woman have literally gotten a divorce. You are divorced. And she will tell you everything possible to let you know, to make you believe that it's not a divorce, but it is a divorce. And you'll have separate bedrooms, and she will have a lock on the door. And you'll go to the door, you'll try to open the door, and the door is locked. And she say, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie, I'm busy right now. I'm working, I'm working, I'm on a business call." Bro, she's just chilling on her iPhone, you know, but she doesn't want you anywhere around her. But of course, you're still there paying all the bills and taking care of everything else in the house because you're a simp, right? And she's there, and in reality, she's in the bedroom, like texting like a million different guys, dozen different guys. You know that's modern day relationships for you in a nutshell. And it's unfortunate that a lot of guys, they don't wake up to it until it's too late. And the Christians are so dangerous. The Christians are so dangerous because the Christians will try to convince men that this is their purpose in life, to provide for a woman, to give their value to a woman. That's what God wants you to do. God wants you to give your value to the woman. God wants you to provide for a family. That's what God put you here to do. That's your purpose in life. And if you don't achieve that, then you've achieved nothing. Because that's why God told Adam and Eve to be fruitful. All I can do is just shake my head. All I can absolutely, and guys, when it comes to Sims will never change. I'm looking at a comment that I left on one of my videos. That someone left on one of my videos, and this guy said something very interesting. He said that, I said, I said a simp is a modern day Judas. This was a poll I made. A simp is a modern day Judas who would betray you for women or money. And someone responded. He said, "No, I'll tell you why. Judas felt bad enough after being a sellout after being a sellout. He felt so bad that he deleted, that he control alt deleted. And that was the end of him, right? He deleted himself from existence. Most Sims would never feel bad about that." And I responded by saying, "Damn, you're right. Judas deleting could be considered an act of repentance." I don't know if it was an actual act of repentance. That's something that I would have to discuss with MK Fitness, and MK can talk about that in the chat if what he thinks about that. But I responded that most Sims would never do this. They would go look for a woman immediately. It's the truth. Judas got his bag of silver, and most Sims, after betraying Jesus, they would go look for a woman. They would immediately go look for a woman with a Kool-Aid smile on their face because they got exactly what they wanted. Like, and MK Fitness has talked about this as well. He said this, that this is one of the big problems. A lot of men choose their wives over God. If I'm in a relationship with a woman, a truly godly woman would always put God before me. just as I would put God before her. So if I'm in a relationship with a woman who says to me, I would put you before anyone, I would put you even before God, I need to get away from that woman. I need to get away from that woman. That woman doesn't love me. At best, she's maybe obsessed with me, but that's a dangerous woman, because if you don't put God first, if she doesn't put God first, trust me, she's not going to put you first, because men and women are not the same. Okay. So a relationship should always be centered around God. If you believe in God, for those of you that don't believe, that's cool. That's your choice. But when I'm then talking about God, like if a woman says that, she'll put you before God, that's not a woman for you. You don't want a woman who says something like that. And unfortunately, a lot of women are in relationships with these simps, and these simps, they know that these simps are putting them before God, and they are very, very happy that these simps are putting them before God. I truly don't know what modern women are going to say to God. You know, many of them, I've joked, I don't know if it's really a joke, that many of them will be heading off to hell. But it's the reality of it. It is the reality of it. Reality of it. Let me read some more of your comments. Punk says they want you to keep reproducing and provide because they need more attendees in their church for their tithes. Exactly. If men don't marry, they will get no more money in their pockets. I told you guys, it's a scam. Guys, the church is just another hustle. This is a hustle. All right. It's a hustle. As a young man, I used to see the way that these people would what they would do with the tithes. And I said to myself, my father and those other men, they're stealing that money. As a teenager, because my father was a deacon, and I said to myself, my father and those men are stealing that money. In my heart, I said, those men are stealing that money. They're all getting their cut from that money. Everybody's getting a piece of. Everyone's getting a piece of that money. And I'll tell you, I found out when I was older, my father was stealing tithe money. My father was stealing tithe money. I found out I found out I caught him red-handed. I caught my father red-handed stealing tithe money. Red-handed stealing tithe money. Okay? I knew he was doing it. This happened years later because I always knew that they were stealing, but I didn't have any proof. But I caught him red-handed stealing tithe money. Red-handed stealing tithe money. They were all doing it. Which is also impressive because it's like these people were not afraid. Guys, it's a hustle. It's a hustle. This is how they pay their bills, remodel their homes. It's a sad reality, but it is a reality. Highway says our pastor used to do that, angry. A lot of pastors used to do that. A lot of pastors still do that. There's a lot of people who don't like Joel Osteen, man. Oh my goodness. Let me read some of this. You guys are something else. It says, I can relate. I also had a baby face and very small. Okay, let me see here. Isn't there a new U.S. military base over there in the Philippines? I don't know. There may be. Nate says 10% of my yearly income for a church, if I'm not working, is 0%. Oh boy, guys! Modern women have done this to themselves. They've created this reality for themselves where men are just fleeing from society. Men are fleeing from society. Men are done with the games, done with the nonsense. They don't want to tolerate it anymore because there's really nothing in it for them. As a man, there is really nothing in it for you. There's nothing in it for you. In terms of relationships, modern relationships, there's nothing in it for you. The smartest thing you can do is to just walk away and stay away. Because society this society only wants to destroy you. It only wants to destroy you, guys. If you guys want to drop some love, I know you guys were asking earlier about the Cash App. I actually pinned the Cash App link. So, You can drop something if you want to. You don't have to. I did pin the Cash App link for you guys, so it's pinned right now. So if you want to use that, you can use that. But that's also the link right there. You can see it on the screen. Let me look. Let me look at this. Let's read some more your comments. Let me see here. MK says to keep your eyes on Passport Kings. Who says women take over, period. Little by little, they enroach until you're looking at your stuff in the garbage. It's so crazy. Because by the time you're 13 years old, your personality is really set in. And it's like, I just feel sorry for these young boys because they don't understand reality. Like, you have to like really get it through their heads. Like son, that PlayStation 5 that you love, you're going to lose. You get married, you mess around with these girls, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose your PlayStation 5. You're going to lose your video games. Everything that you love, you're going to lose. Oh, you have you have that collection of sneakers that you have. Oh, you have like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 worth of sneakers. You're going to lose half of that stuff. It's all, listen, everything you own, all of the money in your bank account, all of your personal possessions, your video games, everything, as well as your potentially any few money you will make in the future will go before the court, and the judge will then decide how they're going to split your assets. So they're going to take half your stuff, at least half your stuff, give it to the woman, and then on top of it, they're going to tell you that you're going to have to continue paying for her for the rest of your life. And some of y'all, you think you're clean, you think you're so smart, and you're like, you go and you mess around with one of these girls, you get them pregnant, that's it. That's 18 years minimum of child support. And the state, what they do is they take out a loan. So basically, right off the bat, they take out a loan for those 18 years that you're going to be paying child support, and you cannot ever discharge that child support. You will always have to pay it back, and they will send you to jail if you don't pay it back. There is no way out. And in some places, if the woman puts down your name on a birth certificate, even if the kid isn't yours, if after like 3 to 5 years, you don't come forward and say that, hey, this is not my kid, it doesn't matter anymore. The state will now say that regardless of whether or not you're not the father, the period of time allotted has been passed to contest that you are the father or not, and you're going to have to pay those 18 years. Like, this is American society. Guys, I told you, this is not a democracy. It is not a constitution. It is not a democracy. It is not a republic. It is a federal corporation. It is a federal corporation. George Carlin, he said this about the Constitution. He said that the Bill of Rights, those are not rights. That's a bill of privileges that can be taken away from you at any given time. You need to read it very carefully. And we can see very clearly how easily those rights are taken away. And they will literally, for example, when it comes to, for example, child support, a man can pay 18 years of child support, find out that after paying out over $1 million in child support, or let's be realistic, after paying $500,000 in child support, he discovers that the child was not his, and he goes to the court and says, bro, she lied, the child wasn't mine, I want my money back. The state will turn around and say that would hurt the child, so we're going to focus on the best interest of the child. But my property was illegally seized from me. I was robbed of my property, and it was done under fraud because the woman involved knew very clearly that the child was not mine. We have actual proof. And the court will still turn around and say it doesn't matter, because if we were to go back on this, it would hurt the child. So we have to focus on what's in the best interest of the child over the man. This is the reality. You can have your wealth and resources extracted from you. You can be thrown in prison. What about the time I spent in prison? You threw me in prison when I missed payments years ago for a child that wasn't even mine. How are you going to compensate me for that? We are not. Guys, I will say this though, like, I don't know. Highway says, angry, I never knew cooties was real until we learned about about things that could be transmitted, diseases that could be transmitted through physical intimacy. Angry cooties are real. That's what. Yeah, I've talked about this before. That when we were told about cooties, cooties came from our older brothers. Cooties came from Gen X. You see, Gen X understood that we were still young and we did not understand things very clearly. When they told us, listen, you don't go around kissing girls or you will get cooties. They understood that as children, at 5 years old, you don't understand what physically intimacy is just yet. So, trying to talk about, being physically intimate, having a physically intimate relationship with a girl outside of kissing is difficult. So what they said is they created this thing called cooties. That was another name for a disease that could be transmitted through STD, through physical intimacy. And they said, listen, you will get cooties. They were teaching us and trying to prepare us for the future. They were warning us of things to come. And it's absolutely real. Good guy Gen X, good guy Gen X. They tried to warn us about the future. Let's read some of this. Cage Grant says, I read a story. A man only paid alimony for $1 for his life. She was mad. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's something else. This is women today. They don't know what they've lost until they wake up. And to be very clear with you, as men, when we do well in life and our lives improve, and then suddenly guys go, oh, look at these women. The women are like, oh, I didn't even know he was I'm so ashamed of myself. I didn't realize that he was going to be this person in life. And I wish I had done things differently. Said no woman ever. Even though they have regret, they'll never say it out loud. Here's a crazy thing. It should not matter to you whether or not a woman has any regrets once you've taken off in life and done better in life. And then you're like, oh, she's like, now look at how they feel. Guys, if she didn't want you in her prime, then you shouldn't want her in her decline. She was never good for you. A person who just wants you for what you have and what you've become is a person who never liked you in the first place. For example, she didn't want you when you were a struggling artist. She didn't want you when you were going out and singing songs on the street corner and performing at church events and stuff like that. She didn't want you during those times. Okay? But now you're famous, you're selling out concerts, and and all these other influential people are hanging around you, and suddenly she wants you now. If she didn't want you then, she doesn't want you now. The only thing she wants is what you have. So she never liked you in the first place. She didn't like you then, and she doesn't like you now. Like I said, a woman can like certain things about you. She can like certain things that you have. She could, but she will never like you for you. The guys that she likes are Poncho, Chad, Tyrone, Ray, Pookie, these kinds of guys. Because these guys are fun. These guys are not boring. Because guys, modern women are dopamine junkies. They need constant hits, so they need highs and lows. They don't like stability. Most women don't like stability because stability is boring. Okay? Being able to eat every day for a lot of women is boring. Having everything, having good lives is boring. It's the truth. A good life for most women is boring. Women like having ups and downs and emotional highs and lows because they need that dopamine rush. They need that continuous and constant dopamine rush. And it's a sad thing, but it's a true thing. It's a sad reality, but it's the truth. You need to wake up and realize it. And I've said it, nothing lasts forever. Luxshay said PS5. Lux says women are boring, not PS5. There's a song a woman wrote that's like, it's me or the PS5. And every dude right now is like, I'm choosing the PS5. Are you crazy? The happiness that I'll get years and years of happiness out of the PS5, while I'll get years and years of misery out of you. Let me see here. Highway says, I saw a place for $240 a month and looks so cool in the Philippines. So, for example, this is why you need guidance. This is why you need a lot of guidance before you go to the Philippines. For example, what MK Fitness did was he actually met someone who he met a woman before he went to the Philippines. You need to know you need to know what you're doing, because $240 in the Philippines that's interesting, because that's a lot of money in the Philippines. You can rent an entire house for 100. Guys, I used to rent 150. I used to rent an entire house overseas, a brand new house, for like $150 or a little less than $150. An entire brand new house, an entirely brand new house. Okay, so you'll go to the Philippines and someone will say, "Oh, it's only $240 a month. You're getting such a good deal." They're looking for a stupid foreigner that will come over there and pay twice what they're supposed to be paying. That place in reality may not be worth more than $120. Like, I'm being so serious. Like, the actual rent for that place could be somewhere between $100 and $120. But because you're a foreigner, you don't know what you're supposed to be paying. So they're charging you twice or almost 3 times what you should be paying for that place. And you think you're getting a good deal, they're actually ripping you off. So you have to know one of the things you have to know is you have to know how things work over there. You need to know what the prices actually are. You need to understand, do they tip in these places? For example, do they commonly tip in the Philippines? A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. All right. But they know that you're a stupid foreigner. So I'm not calling you stupid, but they know that us foreigners are stupid when we go over there, because, many of us don't have any experience traveling. So they all expect you to, so you drop like a $5, $10 tip, and they're not going to say anything to you. They're like, oh, yes. And they'll even act like you're supposed to tip them, because they know you're a foreigner and you don't know better. So you have to learn the culture. You have to learn what the cultural norms are when you travel to these countries, or they will take advantage of you. Yeah, MK Fitness. MK says, that's double my rent in the Philippines. There you go. That's double my rent in the Philippines. You have to be really careful, dude. You have to be so careful, because just because they see you coming a mile away, and then you'll end up in a place where, and they'll have you. That's another thing. Like, a lot of people don't know this. This is how I learned it. You have to walk with your attorney before you sign any contracts. First off, never use an attorney that these people provide. Never let them refer you to an attorney. You should always have an attorney. And let me tell you how contracts are actually signed. At the time, they usually sign the contract at the time when you're about to rent the place. The attorney, your attorney, is supposed to meet you there and review the contract. And they're supposed to be there at the time when you sign the contract. So there's no funny business. The reason why is because sometimes they can also switch the contracts around. So before you sign anything, you need to have an attorney present. Guys, you don't know some of the things that happened to me because I did not know these things. You have to have someone who has gone through these things and experienced these things that can share their life experience, so that you don't repeat these same mistakes. This is the reason why I say that smart men learn from their own mistakes. Wise men learn from the mistakes of others. Okay? That's how Highway says, how much does an attorney cost there? This is where that's another excellent question. So you have to really know what you're doing. First off, you have to do your research. And again, in my package, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do all of these things. But to be very honest with you, you can find an attorney. It really depends on what you're looking for. It really depends on what you're looking for. But in many cases, you can find an attorney for less than $100. I'll just be straightforward with you. You can find an attorney for less than $100, barely, and that's actually way on the deep end. Like, we're talking probably more like $25. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, $25 is like, you can happily, I had an attorney for like $25, and they were a good attorney. Like $25, $25-$30, you'll find a decent attorney that has, at like I said, a good enough law firm, and they can handle everything for you. And not only will they handle things for you, but then you can also have them take care of other things for you. For example, if you're ever in trouble, you need help with other things, you can have different, or if they can't help you with that, they can refer you to other things. You always have your attorney. When I go overseas, I've learned this the hard way. These people, everyone overseas walks with their attorney. Everyone walks with their attorney. Okay, you never sign anything until you've had your attorney look it over, and you never use an attorney that someone else provides for you, because everyone is trying to take advantage of you. You have to have that attitude, like, everyone is trying to take advantage of me, and then I'm going to work towards the best situation, work towards the best outcome. Okay, it's the truth. And then you look for, and then you go from there, and then you can work on finding something that works for you, and finding someone who's not trying to rip you off. And let me tell you this, even people who ultimately don't rip you off, the only reason why they didn't rip you off is because you had an attorney, because they knew that you knew what you were doing. There are also, guys, there's so many things you have to know when you're traveling. Like, for example, let's say you go to the mall and you decide to get a foot massage, right? You decide to, because there are all these places that do massages. So you go somewhere, you decide to get a foot massage, or a massage in general, right? And the person working there, or these people are charged. It doesn't even have to be a massage, but just anywhere in general where you would go back regularly. Let's say even a haircut, and they'll start asking you, "Oh, how long are you going to be here?" That's one of the first questions they ask you. And as foreigners, we don't know that what they're really doing. They don't care about you. They don't like you. Highway says $25 per hour for their services. No, bro, $25 period for everything. Like 25. You can get an attorney to cover everything, like handling the negotiation. Dude, I had two attorneys work for less than $50. I had two attorneys working for me for around $30. I had two attorneys. Because I went overseas, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I lost a lot of money. But I had two attorneys working for me for about $30, and for $30 they were able to completely get rid of some crazy ridiculous contracts I had gotten involved in, and everything for 30, and basically explain to me what was happening, and for about $30. About $30. Like, yeah, but the thing is, you have to make sure you do your research, and once you've done your research, guys, the money is very, very different. So no, not 25 an hour, like 25 for everything, like from start to finish, and you will still have and you can retain them, and some of these are decent, and some of these people are very decent people, so you can have them as a retainer. And like, if something happens, you get arrested, or you end up in the hospital, or you need to leave, something happens with your passport, you have them there. So for example, you may be able to use some of these people to like keep certain documents safe for you, or whatever. So this way, if something happens, you have these people as a backup, and they can reach your family, they can help you with the embassy. This is just some stuff that you have to know, but you don't learn these things because you go to these other countries, and you think that the prices are going to be similar to American prices. Like when you're overseas, you go to the doctor. And for me, like, it's like, how much it costs to go to the doctor? I used to spend like $3. I would go and see these amazing doctors and spend like $3. And if I wanted to see like a real, like a real professional, like I wanted to go to like a really fancy hospital, like that was like tons of money in this place, and everything, like really expensive place, I might spend like $25. And that's something like one of the best doctors in like one of the best doctors in the country, like $25. I had to have a major operation once, and I spent, I think it was around $500. And for $500, I had an amazing operation. They literally did things like they put these things they took blood from me, and they filtered the blood to take out, I forget what it was, and that helped. And then they grafted it onto me so that I would heal faster. They use all like plasma. They do all kinds of crazy. And it was like I had life-saving surgery with like the best doctors in the world for like $500. Like, yeah, like this is what happens but you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing. Yeah. MK's in the MK is still in the chat when he should be on the stream, but it's all good. He's in the chat when he should be on the stream, and he's talking about Japan. He's talking about, he said that he has to leave the country for like one day. So yeah, like when you're in the Philippines, you can basically, that's what a lot of people do. They just live there, and then when they need to like renew their visa, they leave the country for one day, go to another country, renew their visa. They go to like Thailand or whatever. They go to a country close by, renew their visa, and come back. And it's a pretty easy process. And that's how a lot of men just live there indefinitely. You don't have to step foot back in the United States. The U.S. is literally just it's a pressure cooker. The United States is a 100% pressure cooker. You don't need to put up with this. As men, we should not put up with any of this nonsense. And one of the things you can do is also get travel insurance. There's a lot of people who say that you don't need it, but I swear by traveler's insurance. The reason why is because if you're going, everyone goes overseas thinking that everything's going to be fine until it's not. Some people, if you can't afford it, I get it, but I don't think that I think it's a stupid thing to travel without traveler's insurance, because it's very affordable, and it will save you so many things. It'll save you so many problems. Just in case something happens and you lose everything, you will still have your traveler's insurance until you're, just to back you up. Because you may not, everyone goes over there thinking they're going to they're going to settle and, get settled. And then no, for someone like me traveling overseas, I can travel without traveler's insurance, but I have other things. But I have things backed up. And even now, if I'm traveling again, I probably would have it, just because it's nice to have until when I'm going overseas, and in case something goes wrong, just for like the beginning of the trip, at least for like even for the first couple of months, I have that there just in case. Because travel insurance will get you through a lot. And so many guys are just so cheap. Like some of you did the same thing where I told you to go and expedite your passports, and you were so cheap that you refused to spend $120, 120, like $120 to expedite your passports. And then you're like crying, you're like angry. It's 3 months later and I don't have my passport. You were right. And I get kind of frustrated with some of you, because it's like, I know I'm right. I told you not to do this. Like, I told you to do this and you don't listen, and then you're crying about it. Okay, well, guess what? You did, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You could have been wise and learned from someone who did the same thing and screwed and got screwed because they didn't know this, but instead you chose to, be dumb. And now you have to learn from your own lesson. So now now you can be smart about it, but you're smart, but you are not wise, because smart men, smart people learn from their mistakes. Wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And for a lot of people, they don't want to be wise. They want to keep on playing games and play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Let me see here. You have to be careful with your parents as well, because your parents, especially your mother, they're gonna put you down. Because you have to remember, for mothers, for women, you are no matter what you think, you don't realize how valuable you are. And a man is worth more than money. For women, they will tear your son down so that they cannot function without them. So especially your mothers, they don't want you to leave. They hear that you're going overseas, they will tell you everything bad in the world to try to destroy your mind and to keep you from being able to leave, or in some cases from even being able to get into a relationship with a woman, because she wants to keep you for herself. Highway says, I think what made me make my mind up was when I told my dad. He agreed, but my mom was so against it and bashed me for it. So I really want to go. See what I told you? Yes, see what I told you? Because women instinctively know that you are an asset to them. All right? As a man, we are walking assets, because in this world, women live off handouts. Women live off handouts. They live off the simp economy. They live off the state. They live life on easy mode. Okay, because most women don't want to have to work for the rest of their lives. They cannot work for the rest of their lives, so they need men around them. So they need men around them to provide for them and to protect them. And they will, a lot of there's a lot of guys, for example. There's a show on television where you have these really fat, really overweight people, and you have some of these really overweight men on these television shows. And you ever wonder, how did these guys end up so overweight? Well, there's a guy named Boogie 29988. And Boogie, as you know, he had hit like 600 pounds. And a lot of people don't understand, how do these guys end up so overweight? Well, how did they do it? Well, a lot of it goes back to mommy, not daddy, mommy, because their mothers deliberately fed them this food, got them extremely fat, and then so that they would never leave, and then played it off as though they are just a loving mother who wanted to take care of her child and make them happy. And in reality, anyone with sense would know that that's abuse. Like, you would not raise guys. Women act like they're completely naive and oblivious to everything. You're telling me that you did not know that stuffing your son's face with these toxic foods when they were children would ultimately lead to them being overweight? You're telling me that when they were 5 years old and tipping the scale, you did not think that, okay, we need to take some immediate actions? I mean, how did they gain that kind of weight in the first place? Oh, they just suddenly started packing on the pounds rapidly? No, you were feeding them garbage. A lot of mothers will break at least one of their children, specifically sons, so that they can never leave them. They will break them psychologically. They will break them physically. They will even break them financially. Yes, financially. Mothers will destroy their sons mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. So their sons cannot function without them, and so that their children cannot leave them. A lot of modern day women, it's narcissism, but many of them also have borderline personality disorder, which is, please never leave me, don't leave me. And they use manipulation tactics where they give attention and then they take it away, and they give attention, they take it away, and they play with you mentally so that you feel like you can no longer be independent of them. And if you don't have them around, then you'll start latching on to someone else, trying to have someone else emulate and give you the guidance that mommy gave you, because you never were taught to think for yourself. In fact, you were punished whenever you tried to think for yourself. If you look at Gypsy Rose, if you know the story behind Gypsy Rose, her mother had Munchausen syndrome, but she was also likely she was also likely borderline. She likely had borderline personality disorder as well. You know, it's the honest to goodness truth. They destroy their children so that they cannot leave. Your mother doesn't want you to go because you're an asset for her. You are an asset for her. So of course she's going to say anything to prevent you from going anywhere, let alone get into a relationship with a woman that's not her. Why do you think women are so furious that men are going overseas and becoming passport kings? The same women who said that they didn't want these men are furious, and they're saying things like, oh, these guys are going over there, and if you go over overseas, you're going to get deleted. They're trying to put fear inside of you because they don't like you. They don't like you, but then at the same time, they will say anything to prevent you from leaving, even telling straight up lies. I got a new member. Shout out to my new member. Has hmm, Shout out to my new member. Has next. Thanks for joining, bro. I really appreciate you becoming a member. Appreciate that, bro. Let me read. Let's look at some of the comment. Let's look at some of more of the comments. MK says hotels are everywhere. You can just walk to another hotel if you don't like it. Yeah. But you have to be careful. Guys, do not think these people are your friends, okay? And just because MK, you have to remember, in the case of MK, he actually knew someone before he went over there. And that's a very, very big thing. Because he knows a lot, he knows much more now than when he went there. But he had someone that was holding his hand, someone that knew where to go shopping, someone who could tell him what things actually cost, could say, hey, they're trying to rip you off because you're an American. So it's a whole big difference when you know the reality. And here's a funny thing: even when you know what the real price is, for example, even after you've lived overseas sometimes, and you know what the actual price of things are over there, and you know what you're not supposed to, what you're supposed to pay and what you're not supposed to pay, these people will still won't sell it to you. For example, you go into a store and you want to purchase a bottle of orange juice, and they'll tell you $2. And you're like, wait a minute, no, 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 this orange juice is $1. And they'll say, no, it's $2. And you can argue with them all you want, and they will let you walk out of the store. They will let you walk out of the store and not get that orange juice, and they're perfectly fine with it, because the only person who's going to get it for $1 is going to be a person from that country, be one of their people. Even though it's $1, for you it's $2, and for you and for all other foreigners, it's $2. That's just the reality of it. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes, for example, like you go shopping in the Philippines. I've seen videos with MK Fitness, and he goes shopping in the Philippines. He goes shopping with his Filipina, and his Filipina can get these. She knows where to shop, and she can get these prices. If he was to go shopping by himself, even the nicest of people in the Philippines will rip you off. Sometimes it's only for just $1 or $2 more, but you have to remember, you have to realize that's a lot of money for them. You have guys, $100 a week for a person living in the Philippines is a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a person. A person who makes $3,000, $3,500 a year living in the Philippines, that's a lot of money for them. $3,500 a year. They can rent an apartment, a nice apartment, or a house for $3,500 a year. You can rent an entire house. You can pay all of your bills. You can live very, very well in the Philippines if you're a Filipino on $3,500 a year. So you have to understand that, if you don't have knowledge of what's going on over there, they will take advantage of you. And that's one of the reasons why it's important to meet someone, to have friends who are over there and know how things operate, so that when you go out, they can do the negotiating for you. Because if they don't do the negotiating for you, they will rob you. You will get robbed over there. MK basically says trike drivers will try to rip you off. 50 don't pay more than 50 pesos for a trike. Yeah, they'll try to guys, this is an example. These people are crooks. These people are absolute crooks. Absolute crooks. It's about figuring your ignorance when shopping. Yeah. This is it. Guys, when these people, they rob you, they basically act like in their heads, you're just an idiot. Like, you're just an idiot. They were able to fool you. You're an idiot that they were able to take advantage of. They have nothing inside of them, and they will praise God that God sent you as a big idiot, so they can rob you. But you did it to yourself because you are a big idiot, and you're from America anyway, so you are rich. You'll go right back to your country, and you'll be rich overnight again. But they have to work for everything. Unlike you, you're from America, you are given everything. This is their mindset, but they will smile in your face and pretend to be your friend. And a lot of the idiots who are in the Philippines right now, that go to the Philippines, a lot of the idiots that go over there, they try to tell you like, oh, everything's wonderful. Like, oh, the people here are so friendly and so kind. Here's another thing. Be very careful who you accept food from. Okay? Because that's one of the ways they will get you, using food. These people will put things in your food. Some of these countries, they have people who worship different gods. I know. You're like, those guys. It sounds crazy. I know it's like crazy, but when you travel the world, you'll discover. You step outside of Western society, and you discover there are a lot of in a lot of these other countries. You go to Africa. That's a good example. They worship. Africa. Even Mexico, the Caribbean. These people worship a ton of different gods around the world, and they do sacrifices, man. And you could end up being one of their sacrifices. I know it's like you wouldn't know these things unless someone gave you this knowledge. But yeah, that's something that no one ever talks about. And a lot of these other places, these people worship different gods. They worship other gods, and you have to be very, very careful because if you're a single person traveling, here's like another big tip for you: you never ever let anyone know that you're a single person and that you don't have anyone with you. All right, You always, oh, I'm here with, like, how, who you're here with? I'm here with my friends. Just where we are. I'm here with my friends, or I'm here with my family. You don't give a damn about these people because they don't give a damn about you. You never let anyone know that you're by yourself because you want them to always think that there's someone that will be there looking for you. A lot of the idiots, they go over to Colombia and they basically let everyone know that they're by themselves. And what happens if they know you're by yourself, then they're going to be able to isolate you and rob you and then possibly even, hit control alt delete and you will no longer be in this reality. By saying, "Oh yeah, I'm here with my friends," you can immediately knock that off. And one of the first things you should be doing is joining groups like expat groups. You can find expat groups to join, and expat groups you can find other expats that will share their knowledge with you and will warn you about different things. There are different expat boards online you can go to, and you can find out different things that are happening in these specific places. See, I'm giving you guys some of the things that are going to be in the Passport King blueprint that I'm going to be selling, that I'm going to be have up for you guys. And just knowledge like this will save you lots of money. It will save you from getting into trouble. But never think that you're smarter. Never think that you're also smarter than these people, because these people are professional con artists and they know how to take advantage of people using kindness. Please, please, please leave your heart at home. Be like the Japanese. Be polite, but do not be kind. Because, in a Western society, they constantly tell you to be kind, and if you're not kind, they try to use guilt to control you. It's a Christian thing. These other countries, they know this. They know that you're coming from a guilt-based country, and they know that everything is about being kind. Oh, give a little bit more, do this. So they prey upon your your ignorance. All right, they know your culture, but they know that you do not know their culture, and they take advantage of it that way. They take advantage of you that way. It sounds so rough, but it's the truth. It's the honest to goodness truth. It sucks, but yeah. Dr. Migglypuff says, Sharkman, shout out to Dr. Migglypuff, long time subscriber, long time tormentor. I'm just teasing. Let me see here. Let me see. MK says, stay sober, don't drink too much, because they're looking for drunk guys walking back to their hotels to take their money away from them, to separate them from their money and their possessions and maybe even their lives. Yeah. See, like guys, you have to know, you have to be so careful. You have to be so careful. And it's in the places like the Philippines, it's in the places like Mexico, it's like places like Dominican Republic, places like Colombia, where the weather is nice and everything seems like it's really good. That's where you're most likely to end up being separated with your money or with your life, from your life, because you let your guard down and you think that everything is nice, parties are happening around you, it feels like everything's bright, you feel like you're in heaven. You don't realize that you're surrounded by darkness everywhere you turn, and all those people around you are thinking about how they could take advantage of you. For example, I've talked about this before. Like, I grew up in New York, and growing up in New York, you have street smarts. So you know certain things. But then the moment you go overseas, even someone like me becomes stupid. At least not anymore. But someone like me becomes stupid because you're in this nice environment, and the people try to make you feel like you're special, and like they're also, and like they're trying to make like lower your guard, and they're trying to lower your guard so they can separate you from your money, or even separate you from your life. And then it's a very, very dangerous thing. No matter how street smart you think you are, trust me, these people, they are pros at taking advantage of people. And one of the best ways to know how to navigate this is to get to know someone first off, meet other expats, because other expats will tell you what to look out for. And you can do this, you can do a lot of this online, but then also meeting someone who lives there, building a relationship with them, they can tell you very quickly, for example, how much am I supposed to tip? They'll tell you, tip, are you out of your mind? Don't give these people any money. If you give them money, they're going to try to rob you. They're going to take advantage of you. For example, You go out to eat, you tip the waiter. The waiter realizes that you're by yourself. They start chatting you up, and they're like, "Oh, let me give you your let me give you my number. Let's be friends." They don't want to be friends. They want to rob you. They want to rob you. They want to take advantage of you. You know, a lot of these all right, I'll give you another example with women. You go overseas, it could be the Philippines, it could be Thailand, a lot of the countries, it could be Mexico, Colombia, Dominican Republic, all of these countries, they have mobile phones over there and everything is prepaid. And what they'll do is they'll ask you if, oh, okay, could you put some money on my phone for me? Could you put some money on my cell phone for me? And you being an idiot, oh, the girl is so gorgeous and she's so pretty, right? Sure, I'll put some money on your phone for you, sweetheart. And maybe she even gives it up to you. And you're like, oh my gosh, that $10, you put, let's say, $10 on her phone or $25 on her phone. Let's say 20. And you're like, listen, I'm not, listen, I just got the best, I just had the best physical intimacy of my life. And all I did was give her to, put 10 or 20 bucks on her phone and, 10 or 20 bucks on her phone and buy her some McDonald's. You being the idiot, you didn't realize that the reason why she asked you to put money on her phone is so that she can figure out how much money you have and how much money she can milk you for. Because that's the start of the game right there. So she'll hook up with you right away, but that's a part of the con. And then suddenly she'll start to come up with different things like, she'll some of these women, they won't even like ask you for anything in the beginning, but they'll gradually start to introduce problems like, oh, I'm struggling, I want to do this, I want to go and do that, and my family this. And that's when you start hearing about this problem and that problem. And before you know it, the girl starts telling you that she was sold to like this group of people and she needs money to pay off her debts or else they're going to take her away. Like they basically feel you out to see how ignorant and foolish you are and how much they can play with your head. And then they'll come up with imaginary things like, oh my gosh, you broke a law in the country, the police are going to come for you, but we know someone who can help you. And they'll create an entire scenario, elaborate thing to make it look like they're actually trying to help you and save you when they're really just robbing you. Guys, listen to me. You can tell that I'm experienced because I've gone through so many of these things in my travels across this world, you know? And now you can learn from my ignorance so you don't end up losing the kinds of cash that me and so many other ignorant people who are ignorant have lost. I'm lucky I didn't lose my life. I am lucky I did not lose my life. I'm lucky I'm alive. All right. Which says a lot more than a lot of the guys who went to Colombia and got deleted. But if you don't know and don't think that you're smarter than anyone, you are not smarter than anyone else. Okay, forget about, you don't want to be smart, you want to be wise. You want to learn from the mistakes of others. If you're being smart, that means that you're learning from your mistakes. That means that you're making a bunch of mistakes, and it's good to learn from your mistakes. But guess what, it's better to learn from the mistakes of others, because sometimes you may not get a second chance. It's just the honest to goodness truth. Sometimes you may not get a second chance. And it sucks to point it out like that. It sucks to say it like that, but it's the truth. And PT Ramos said it. I like the way he says it in the comments. The house always wins. And that's how it is with these women. Guys, one of the things that you can do, for example, when you go overseas, MK Fitness is a good guy. He's a good guy, great guy. But for a lot of you, you don't need to be like that. You don't need to follow his, you don't need to follow his lead. He found himself a nice lady. He's in a relationship. I wouldn't go to, for a lot of you, you don't have to do that. You go over there and you sell these girls. Guys, they're working on you. The moment you get to the country, these women they're trying to take advantage of you. They're trying to get the best possible deal they can. Are some of these women decent people? Absolutely. But a lot of them, you go over there and within the same day or the very next day, they are physically intimate with you. It happens right away. And you, being the stoop that you are, think that you're special and you want to immediately go and marry these women. You're out of your minds, okay? What you do is you go over there. All right. You first off, you do not use your real name. This is one thing you need to learn. And all of a lot these are just some of the things that will be in the passport bro blueprint for you guys. You don't use your real name. You never use your real name. Always keep a burner phone, okay? And you're gonna basically go and you're gonna sell these women a dream. because all of them have a dream of having a family and kids. You're going to go over there and you're going to sound like a stupid foreigner. This is after you take the Passport Bro blueprint. You're going to learn all the games that they play and everything and the ways that they try to take advantage of you. And you're going to have all of that knowledge. And now, when you go over there, you're going to know what they're doing. You're going to know exactly how they're going to come at you. As soon as you get off the plane, there's a woman is going to walk up to you. As soon as you get off the plane in the Philippines, for example, you're going to go over there you're gonna sell them a dream. You're gonna sell her a dream, like, oh, like, what are you doing here? You're gonna tell her, I'm actually looking for someone. I want to get married. I want to have children. So you're gonna start snapping. So her mindset is like, boom, 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 boom. I need to lock this guy down immediately. I need to knock him down immediately. Boom, 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 boom. So you're gonna tell her all the things that she wants. You guys, listen. You don't have to settle for. Listen, do not settle for these basic girls either. For like the first girl that comes along, you don't have to settle for that. You should not settle for that. All right. You can go over there and get yourself a model girl. You can go over there and get models. You should be settling for the best of the bunch, all right? And you can get yourself a really attractive, really beautiful girl and sell her a dream. Sell her a dream, okay? Tell her everything that she wants to hear. Give her a fake name. Give her the number for a burner phone, and then after that, and leave once you're done, and never go back to the same place twice. And it sounds messed up, but this is how you do. This is how you do it. And you can have multiple girls. You're not going through just one girl. You're going through multiple girls. So you can go through like 50, 100 of them. Guys, you'll have more women than you can deal with. And then once you're done in that area, you take off. And like I said, you never tell them your name. As a result of doing this, God forbid one of them actually ends up getting pregnant with your kid. She doesn't know your name. She doesn't know your name. She doesn't have your real phone number, and you're going to be swapping that number out anyway, because as you're traveling, numbers over there are dirt cheap. A lot of people only spend $10 a month to pay your cell phone bill. I mean, you can have a phone over there for $10 a month. $10 a month, you'll have a phone over there with data, with a decent amount of data. That's why they always fish around to see how much money they can get you to put on their phone, because you're like, oh, I'll put a 50 on your phone, but you act like 50. Okay, so that means that I can really milk this idiot now. All right. But in the case of these women, you're gonna say like, oh, not right now, maybe another, let me get to know you first. And that's actually gonna put up, like, let her know that, like, okay, she's gonna have to really work on you. All right. And all the while, the bull crap that she's doing, the crap that she's doing. So you're going to use that to your advantage. You're going to get what you want. You're going to get it immediately within like the same day or the very next day, and you'll get it as many times as you want it after that. And you're doing this with multiple different women. And like I said, you don't have to settle for like the lowest of the lowest. You can get some great stuff. And then once you're done, just take off and never go to the same place twice. All right. And rinse and repeat the process. And don't feel bad about it. You're just playing the game and you won. All right. And don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. It's as simple as that. Guys, they're playing the same. Women are playing the game. Women have been playing a game all along. But as men, we're so foolish thinking that we need to provide for them, protect them, and be honorable that we end up losing. How many men have lost everything, including their existence, because they refuse to accept that it's one big game. And and the house always wins. In the United States, the game is rigged. So what do? You leave. You'll leave and you walk away. And then when you go overseas, you know exactly what to expect. So basically, they think that you're going to play by the rules, but you don't play by the rules. Because if you're not playing by the rules, first off, they think they're not playing, they're playing by their own rules. All right. And they think that you don't know this, but you're playing by your own set of rules. All right. You're not playing by their rules, and you're going to trick them into believing that you're playing by their rules. And you're going to let them think that, oh, I'm really playing by your rules. Oh my gosh, bro, you know exactly what you're doing. You get in, get what you want, and then you leave. And that's all there is to it. All there is to it. Let me put this on. Let's read some of these comments. Guys, being kind, being virtuous gets you nowhere in this life. I'm not saying you should be a villain, but I'll tell you right now, a lot of heroes don't live long. A lot of here, guys, heroes pass away young. Do you ever notice this, guys? Like there's a saying that the wicked live long, and heroes and a lot. And when you look at heroes often pass away before their time. Yeah, because because they were not being wise. They were not being wise. And stay away from Christianity, because the Christians, those are some of the biggest villains in the world, and they'll try to get like mess your head up with like telling you, like try to convince you to be virtuous as they're taking advantage of you and robbing you. And they'll convince themselves that they did nothing of the sort. Guys, this is most people in this world, most men in this world only want money and women, and most women in this world only want men and money. But the men that they want are not you. They only want Chad, Tyrone, Pookie, Ray Ray, and especially Little Poncho. Especially Little Poncho. Celtic Spirit says, when my dad was stationed in Korea in the army, he promised the local girls he would marry and bring them to the US. He would pump and dump and dip out to the next one. There you go. That's how you do it. This is why young men need fathers, because a father can teach you how to navigate. Don't feel bad for these women. These women would take advantage of you if they could. They're planning to take advantage of you. They're planning on working you. That's why you have to be smart. Be smart about it. They don't see it as taking advantage of you. Women don't feel bad for when they take advantage of you, so don't feel bad when you win the game. Like, guys, the best way to win is do not play by their rules. Okay? Do not play by their rules. Endless says Poncho is the king. Oh my gosh. Let me see this. Shake says it's 2024. If only men who have left this world could hear this crap that men are dealing with, how to get women, how not to get taken advantage of, how to get high paying jobs, you would think by this time and era most people would. Well, one thing about Sims is a lot of Sims will not change, because they cannot change until some guys, they don't learn their lesson until they're living in the woods. They've lost everything and they're living in the woods. Iowa says they said Philippines has 7,641 islands. So that means you can go to a new island every day for 20 years without going to the same island twice. Correct. Never go to the same island twice. Now you're beginning to understand. Okay? Now you're beginning to understand how it works. Let me see here. Let's read some more of your comments. You guys are hilarious, but you're having fun. You guys create. This is how the chat often works. You guys create your own fun. Papa Flop says, "I live in the woods." Oh gosh. So, guys, I tell you sometimes. I don't know if that's where he is right now. Maybe he is. I tell you sometimes that I have these guys who live in the woods and they listen to my videos from the woods just because listen, just because these boys are happy in the woods doesn't mean you should go living in the woods. If you don't know what you're doing, do not. Oh God. Oh goodness. If you don't know what you're doing, please do not go live in the woods. Please do not think about messing around in the woods. All right? Because listen to me, there are a lot of dangerous things in the woods. And one of the biggest things, one of the most dangerous things that you'll find in the woods are not the animals, are not bears. Bears are dangerous too. But one of the most dangerous things you'll find in the woods are people. All right? Listen to me. Stay out of the woods. Stay out of the woods. If you don't know what you're doing, do not go and don't just go hanging around in the woods. But these guys are out there. They're always popping up every so often, telling me that they're listening to my videos from the woods. I've had some of these bastards say like they'll be getting rid of their phone soon, and that just freaks me the hell out. Like, bro, you're gonna be in the woods with no phone. That's right. That's just how I like it. These men exist. These men exist, and they are very happy in the woods. And some of them are heading to the mountains. And these, when you're dealing with these guys, if they don't want to be found, they will never be found. So many guys like have warrants, and they go to the woods, and that's the end of that. That's the end of that, and you never see them again. Celtic says Wi-Fi in the woods. Guys, you can get internet in the woods depending on the woods that you go to. There's a lot of these places, for example, have they have towers, and they have connection. They have towers built in these areas. Now it's crazy. All right, Verizon, T-Mobile, they specifically like take into consideration that there are people out in these very rural areas. So you may have a town. You may have a town that, in some of these places, a lot of towns in these areas, but then you have the woods, and these towns are just literally like you'll have a town surrounded by the woods. And what happens is, you're in the woods, but you can get a signal because there are towns all around you. So of course you're going to be able to get and you have the cell phone towers, so of course you're going to be able to get a connection to the woods. And then of course there are other people who have, like, many of them don't do this, but then there are those people who now, like, Elon Musk, he has SpaceX, and you have Starlink, and you can have internet with Starlink. You can have internet essentially anywhere. So some of these guys may have a Starlink, but most of these guys are just using a cell phone. Oh my gosh. Guys, be careful of woods people. Be careful of woods people. You do not want to go to the woods. You do not want to go to the woods unless you know how to survive in the woods. You do not want to go and just hang out in the woods. PT says, dude has an escaped prisoner as a pet. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. They say laughter is good for the heart, though, don't they? Have you guys noticed that a lot of these Gen Zers, they're like they're having cardiac issues, like I'm just like constant cardiac issues. I don't know what's happening to them, but Godspeed. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Who says man up? Stay out of the woods. Let me read this. Emoji says, Poncho, stop calling my wife. She said she's done cheating on me and needs us to be a family to take care of Hector's biological baby. She said, I need to man up. That's right. Step up, Dad. Step up, Dad. Oh, goodness. Just because you are not the biological dad does not mean you are not the dad. You are the father, okay? God put you here to take care of that child. That is your child. Biology or not, DNA or not, that is your child. God ordained it, and what God has made, no one shall break. This is the nonsense that I keep telling you all about. You have to be, my goodness. I do love my cassettes. Some of y'all still listening to cassettes. Oh my gosh. Black Crow says, angry, I do recommend you come to Japan. Yeah, I know. I know that Japan is pretty much the place where I'll ultimately be best, and that's where I want to be my home, and where I would, just really just like start the second chapter of my life. It's hard. It's very, very hard because I spent so much of my life with Japanese people. I've had so many Japanese friends, and my aneurysms, like many of you think like I'm this extremely angry person. I'm actually pretty calm, and I am not Japanese, but very culturally in line with the Japanese. My personality, my behavior, my traits, very much in line with the Japanese, and it's hard. And as a result of that, it makes it hard because it makes it hard for me because it's like you just feel destined to do something, and you feel I feel destined, like Japan is kind of my destiny, and it's like I don't want to be like these women out here and say the streets are calling, but at the same time, this the rest of the world is there. But then there's that song like TLC, like "Don't go chasing waterfalls, stick to the river and the lakes that you're used to." I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing at all, but I think that you're moving too fast, you know. But then these were the same girls that sang, "I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me, hollering at me from the passenger side of their best friend ride, trying to holler at me." Yeah, something like that. I kind of butchered that one, but you get it. Highway says Japan sounds fun, but I can't learn Japanese to save my life. Okay, so it's like it sounds like there's a lot of things that you guys need help with, like learning second languages. You don't Okay, guys, you want to know how I finally learned Spanish? And my Spanish is terrible, but and the only reason why it's terrible is because of the time frame in which I started actually learning Spanish. I started learning Spanish when I had, when I had a Spanish friend. And as a result of having a Spanish friend that I spent a lot of time with, I just naturally began to learn Spanish. And she would basically correct my Spanish, and I would learn my pronunciation from her. And within a very short period of time, I just started learning Spanish rapidly. Within within like a week or within a month, I went from being, literally barely able to understand any Spanish to communicating more or less. And, that's kind of how you do it. You have to live in the country. You have to be around people that speak the language. So if you go to Japan and you have Japanese friends or you have a Japanese girlfriend, let me tell you, guys, if you go to Japan and you have a Japanese girlfriend, you will learn the language. You think I'm lying? I listen. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds absolutely crazy. I know some of you are gonna say, "Listen to me, bro. You don't know how bad I am at learning languages. I've tried to study Japanese. I've tried to study Spanish or French for years. I cannot do it. I studied it in school. I still don't know it. Yeah, but you have to actively be using it. I know. Trust me. You don't know this until you actually go overseas and experience it for yourself. Your brain can learn even at an older age. You can still learn unless you're choosing not to. And if you have a Japanese girlfriend, you will learn Japanese. If you have a Spanish speaking girlfriend, you will learn Spanish. If you have a French speaking girlfriend, if you're in France and you have a French speaking girlfriend, you will learn French. Okay, and you will begin to learn the language rapidly because it's your brain will start to pick up on this, and she'll correct you, and with no time at all you'll learn the language. just i'm just I'm just being completely honest with you. And then you're watching like the television is going in the background, so you hear shows going, and you start to pick up that as well, just watching lots of television, which is another way a lot of people learn. Yeah, let me see here. Nate says in Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian, if you learn the verb, linking and action verbs, you can understand about 25% of the language. Then learn the feminine and masculine forms, you'll be 65% there. There you go. Thank you for putting that. Thank you for saying that, sharing that. Celtic said, I only know hola, si, and no, so I am screwed. Listen, bro, you have to know how to say, dude, I'll teach you a little bit of Spanish. No habla español. Lo siento, no habla español. My Spanish is terrible. Yeah, I like you could tell like mi español muy malo. Like that's like literally things like that. You like hear me speaking Spanish and like you're like, bro, you speak Spanish, not really. That's one of the nice things though. One of the nice things about knowing another language is it opens up so much for you. And like, after living overseas and then coming back to the US, and now I'm like, it's a whole different experience. For example, I could go somewhere and, you know, like I'll get into an Uber and the person that's driving doesn't speak any English. And as a result of that, I can speak Spanish to him. And just being able to speak Spanish it changes everything. You know, you can go to a restaurant and just being able to speak Spanish, not even a ton of Spanish, but just some Spanish, you can order food before someone else. So you have all of these Americans, and because you're speaking Spanish, they'll tell you know, you could speak to someone behind the counter and order for, you could just order for someone who's not even working. You can order for someone who's not even the cashier, because everyone's going to the cashier to order their food because that's the only person who speaks Spanish, but speaks English. But you start, you know, you start a conversation with a cute girl that's working in the kitchen, you know, grabbing the food, and you're like, "Cómo está, mamacita?" and blah blah blah, just little stuff like that, and she's like, "Hola, qué tal?" and you know, "Muy bien, y tú?" Bueno, and you know, and then she'll ask, you know, what do you know, what do you want? Oh yeah, I'd like some this and this and this, and she'll go and grab your order before everyone else. And it's not just that. Like they'll, it's like Spanish people. If you speak Spanish and they hear you speak Spanish, they will start to discriminate against everyone in front of you because they're like, oh you speak Spanish. Okay, we'll treat you better than everyone else. We'll treat it. It's just it's literally like that. Like I will say this, like when it comes to Spanish, Spanish is not, it is not a secondary language, it is a primary language because most of the world speaks Spanish, you know, or if they don't speak Spanish, they speak a language similar to Spanish, like Portuguese or Italian, you know. And like I will say, like for me, like I'm always working on my Spanish. I will always work on my Spanish because if I realize that you're essentially walking around without clothing if you don't speak Spanish in this world, you know. The moment that you step outside of Western society, outside of predominantly white English speaking countries, you will find out just how important Spanish is. Spanish is the most spoken language in the world, not Mandarin. Some people will tell you, "Oh, Mandarin is spoken the most in the world." No, it's not. Mandarin is not the most spoken language in the world. It's spoken by the most number of people because China has a lot of people, but the most spoken language in the world is Spanish. Spanish. Oh gosh. Let me see. Yeah, Spanish. Let me see here. Mobile says I'm a I'm a Pokemon Tao. Pokemon going their own way. Pokemon going their own way. Bro, emoji says angry Dora the Explorer taught me my Espanol. Soy Dora. I am Dora. Means save soy no bro. Save Dora. I think bro, you are funny. You are funny. Dr. McTow says, I learned Catalan myself. Let me see here. Let's see here what you jokers are saying. I am Pablo. Mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. Oh gosh. There's a little Spanish for you guys. My name is Pablo. Mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Pablo. No. But that's good. That's good. Guys, you just have to practice. Practice is the best thing. Black Crow says, learn by using is best way to master a language. That's exactly it. That's the best way to learn. That's the way to master a language, but it's honestly one of the only ways that some people will learn a language. And sometimes after you've started learning one language, then you can start learning other languages on your own. But typically the best way to, in many cases, just to learn the language for many of us is you have to be in the country using the language around other people who are actively using the language, because not only does it force you to use the language, but people around you are very kind when it comes to this because they want you to speak their language. They want you to speak their language. Also, be very careful with Spanish because Spanish that's spoken in Mexico is not the same Spanish that's spoken in Colombia. It's not the same Spanish that's spoken in Uruguay. They all use like different dialects, everything is different. So just know that, just like how there are different dialects of English, like their English is not the same. The English that you speak, for example, in the United States is not exactly the same English that you're going to speak in the United Kingdom, and even in Australia. It can sound a little bit different in Australia. There are certain words that are different. And then there are some countries like India where they speak India. This is another shocker. The second largest English speaking country in the world is India. It's India. Over 200 million people in India speak English. The United States The United States is the largest English speaking in the country in the world. However, when you consider that the population in India is still growing and that the population in Africa, which is a continent, but the population in Africa is set to skyrocket, and there are also a lot of English speaking people in Africa, it's very likely, I do think, and I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime, but it's very possible it could happen in our lifetime. Actually, it could. It very well could happen in our lifetime where America loses its status as the largest English speaking country in the world to a country where they speak other languages like India. It's crazy, but it is a reality. Those drew my lady. Let me see here. Will says right now I'm looking for a language class, free small ones. So I mean, you can always try Duolingo, although I will say that it's not the perfect. You learn some words, but you will not learn how to actually speak the language. Black Crow says, you see these people on YouTube that speak 8 to 12 languages. They do this by learning, by using, not by learning in a classroom, learning by doing. Yeah, what's crazy, I thank you so much for pointing that out. There's this guy on YouTube and he speaks like 12 languages. And then you find out, you're like, how the heck did he learn all of these languages? And he reveals that he likes to travel a lot, and he basically like there was like this Japanese guy, he's Japanese, and he has a YouTube channel. He's a pretty big YouTuber, and he basically revealed that he basically travels a lot, and he'll travel to Spain, and he'll travel to Brazil, and he'll travel to all of these different countries, and he'll travel to the countries and then basically begin using the languages in these countries, and as a result he learns these languages. You'll often find that a lot of polyglots, people who speak multiple languages, they may speak multiple languages, but they've also lived in these countries, spent time in these countries. Like, for example, someone speaks great Chinese. Yeah, they lived in China for quite a bit of time. This person speaks French. Yeah, they actually went to French and they spent time living in France and immersing themselves in the French culture and interacting with people on a daily basis, listening to nothing but French television, looking at French newspapers, speaking to French women. Get yourself a French girlfriend, and she starts communicating with you, and very quickly your brain, once you learn one language, it makes it easier for you to learn other languages as well. So once you learn a second language, it opens you up to learning other languages. It's definitely, and it helps with the neuroplasticity of your brain. It keeps your brain young, it keeps your brain healthy, and it can also, and knowing multiple languages can evidently help to stave off things like dementia, which is something really important. And Black Crow says, yes, brother, that is correct. Thank you so much, bro. He says, MK says, whisper a little Chad wrote in their ear while clapping cheeks. Oh God. I've told MK before, he's definitely one of my older subscribers because he's bad. He's bad. Like, guys, I used to be real bad. Like, I've had to calm things down a lot for YouTube the way it is today. Like, guys, like I literally have to edit some of my videos. Like, I upload a video, like the video that's coming out in a couple of hours, I had to literally edit the video just because I uploaded it, and YouTube was like, nope, you can't talk about Ladies of the Night. The video was just literally talking about Ladies of the Night, and I had to go and edit the video before YouTube would accept it. And that's happened to me multiple times where I've had videos and I've had to edit the videos multiple times. Every time I upload it, YouTube's like, nope, you're on the naughty list. And I have to edit it multiple times before YouTube will accept the video. So, I've had to change the way I speak, where I don't use profanity. I don't know if you guys notice it. Like, maybe sometimes like a word will slip out here and there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the evil people at YouTube. And the thing is, you can actually use profanity on YouTube right now, just not like in the first 30 seconds. You better not drop like the F, what, but for like, I try to avoid all profanity entirely because, it's such a censored platform. And that's one of the dangerous things with something like YouTube, because it kind of messes with the way that you think. So the way that you start to speak in in society, and that's what social media in general. Social media is like, oh, you can't say this word, you can't mention this, you can't talk about these things. So it basically starts to control your thinking. And then you start to bring these ideologies into the real world and say, oh well, I can't say this and neither can you, because Facebook told me that it's not allowed. And that's absolutely insane. But it kind of illustrates the reason why Gen Z are a bunch of little, commie lovers, and they want to censor free speech, they weren't raised by Gen X, they were raised by social media. So the way that they think, their ideologies, their thought processes are heavily guided by what was put on social media and the policies on social media. And they want to bring these things out into the real world because they're a bunch of little devils. But they won't be with us much longer, so it's all right. They won't be here that long. They're not gonna. I told you a minute ago that they weren't gonna make it, and they're not gonna make it. Christopher says, even recreational use has consequences. In Western society, you should not be messing with these women. Are not for recreational use. They are for no use at all. All right. If you want recreational use, go overseas, and that's recreational use. All right. Overseas, recreational use. Western society, not even for recreational use. Okay. Like avoid. Leave them to the streets. It is from the streets that they came, and it is to the streets that they shall return. That is just it's hard to put it like that, but it's the truth. And women did it to themselves. They chose this life for themselves. They chose it for themselves, and they're going to have to live with the consequences. They're going to have to live with those consequences. And I've said it once, and I'll say it again. No one's crying for them. Absolutely, no one is crying for them. Oh gosh. Black Crow says, "Brother angry, American women are decommissioned only." Apt, perfectly stated. Decommissioned. Decommissioned. Robert says, "To the streets." Oh God. Christopher says, this is kind of messed up. He says, "Angry guy, a single mom passed on herpes to me knowingly. My life is over." So I am sorry to hear that you did contract that. Guys, this is an example for you. That's an example for you guys. Like, you think that you're going to go out there and mess around. Like, for example, you go to the Philippines, wrap it up. Did you hear me, guys? Wrap it up. I don't care how pretty she is. Wrap it up. Always wrap it up. Okay. Well, your life is not over, Chris. If that's the situation, that's actually so herpes. I know hepatitis is curable. Maybe herpes is not curable, but the thing about herpes is that herpes goes away. Herpes actually does go away. It's something that it doesn't, never fully goes away, but bro, it's not something you need to worry about severely, and there are drugs and stuff you can handle. Your life is not over, bro. Take it easy. It's a little herpes. It's just a little herpes. Don't worry too much about it. But I'm not telling, like, guys, you don't go out there, intentionally looking to get it. But your life is not out. Your life is absolutely not over. But that's a cautionary tale for the rest of y'all. If you don't want to end up with something like that, then wrap it up and be very careful and be safe. You should always have get these girls tested as well. Like, if you're dealing with a woman and she's your girlfriend now, then tell her that you're taking her to the doctor. Like, say, okay, listen, sweetie, I'm going to be taking you to the doctor. I need to take you to the doctor and get you checked out so that I know that you don't have anything. Like, literally, that's what you're going to say to her. And if she has a problem with that, if you are with a woman and you tell her that you're going to take her to the doctor so that, you can get blood work done, you'll get blood work done at the exact same time, and you guys will get your results. That's a normal thing. You can literally go to the doctor and say, "Yeah, we're here just to get some test results. We want to make sure that we don't have any STDs." And they will take care of you immediately. And the tests overseas are very, very cheap, like $25. You can usually get almost everything done. $50, you'll have tests done for both you and her, and usually it's not even that much. But for the main, and that $50 is we'll let you test for everything under the sun, like every disease that exists, for just like the main stuff like HIV herpes, hepatitis, these like those off the bat, you could probably get like maybe 40, 50, like 40, 50 bucks. You'll like both of you will be tested, if not less than that. And you get her tested and you make sure that she's clean. And then after that, only then could you think about being intimate without using protection. And of course you have to make sure that she's on the pill beforehand. So like you like that's like right off the bat, like you tell her like she needs to go on the pill. Like there's no if, ands, or buts about it. And even then you have to be cautious. Like you really need to get to know her, because a lot of women will secretly come off the pill after they get into a relationship with you. So just know that it's not 100% for sure. But yeah, right off the bat, you should always go and have her tested beforehand. Don't trust her with your life. There's some dudes who do it. Some dudes will tell you like they went and they got intimate and like, oh, they just knew that this was a woman they could trust. Those are the famous last words of lots of men. Black Crow says, "Brother Angry, do not forget about the mumps." True to that. True to that. Let me see here. Let me read some. Let's look some more of these comments, guys. America, like a lot of these guys are degenerates in Western society. Okay, Christopher says, "Thanks, Angry Guy. You have lifted my spirits. I have been very, very sad lately." I'm sorry to hear that, bro. Don't have those thoughts. Well, I shouldn't say don't have those thoughts. It's your right to have your feelings, and you should. And don't. And I shouldn't have said it like that. Don't try to hide your feelings. You accept them and work through them, but know that your life is absolutely not over. Unfortunately, there's so much negativity around us, and men do not have a support system. When I was going through a lot of things, I had no one. I had literally no one to turn to, and that just helped my relationship with God to grow stronger. That's why it's so important that you have men have other men to speak to guide them through ups and downs. And I realize now, like, maybe at some point in my life I might write a book that will just be for young men, just telling you how to navigate life and how to deal with different things that you experience. Because without guidance you don't know what to do. Especially, and there's some guys who try to do everything in life and they try to be honest and virtuous, and those are the guys who end up getting screwed the most, because women prey upon your ignorance. And it's only after you've lived life and you've become a bit, you've wizened up, and now you're kind of I'm trying to look for the right word for it, but you kind of look at life kind of through, I don't want to say a negative lens, but not so optimistic. You're kind of optimistic anymore. But that's kind of, you kind of have to be awake and realize we live in a very evil world. We live in a very evil world, and I'm not saying that you should partake in darkness, but you have to be very well aware of it. And I've said this many times. When it comes to relationships, for example, in your relationship with a woman, you should always assume that everything she says is a lie, and then look for the truth in the lies, instead of trying to find the lies in the truth, because that's how they'll really get you. You know, when you meet a new person, you should assume that they're trying to take advantage of you, and then try to look for areas where they're not taking advantage, and try to look for the truth and the lies. So automatically assume that everyone that you're dealing with is trying to deceive you, and then look for areas where there's no deception. So that's how you operate, because this is an evil world, and people, they play upon your ignorance, they play upon your kindness, they play upon anything they can to get what they want, because many of them don't even see you as a human being. And when you go to another man's country, a lot of these people, they don't see you as they take advantage of their own countrymen. So how do you think that they're going to actually treat you? Guys, I've just sworn, I'll say it again, nothing lasts forever. It absolutely doesn't. So it looks like things are really shifting as men are walking away from Western society and saying we're done with this. MK says the problem is Sims trying to make love to a 304. Most Sims will never change because they cannot change. Yeah. PT Mouse says have an abundance mindset. Absolutely. That's something that I think is missing with a lot of men. A lot of men have a scarcity mindset, so they go overseas and they jump on the first girl, the first woman that comes along. They immediately jump on that relationship, and I think that it's absolutely foolish. But unfortunately, it's like someone is starving. They feel like they're starving. They never had anything, and now this like one girl is talking to them. They're like, oh my gosh, she's the one for me, and they begin to ignore all the other flags. Like, yeah, this girl is not the right person. She's lazy. She doesn't cook. She doesn't clean. But she's willing to give. She's willing to hook up with you immediately, and you're like looking past all the red flags. Yeah. You're the prize, so you're the one, you're the employer. You're hiring someone for the job of being in a relationship with you. So because you bring the value, you bring, you have the money, you have the company, you are the business. So you have, the woman, she's an employee, she's applying for the job. So if you're gonna, so if you just like look at physical intimacy and go, oh my gosh, intimacy is so great, I'm gonna ignore everything else that you're looking for. Well, then you're gonna end up getting screwed. Then you're gonna end up getting screwed. And once you're stuck in this love mindset, no, you have to learn how to control your heart. You really, really do. And once you learn how to control your heart, you'd be amazed that will allow you to get everything and anything that you want out of a woman. Because if you cannot control your heart, then your heart will control you. And if your heart will control you, then a woman will control your heart. Once she controls your heart, she knows that she controls you. And once she controls you, that's the end of it for you. That is 100% the end of it for you. This is the reason why, as men, you have to be smart, you have to be wise, but you have to have knowledge. And one of the most important things that men need is men need strong male leaders. Men need mentors. As men, you need mentors. You have to find other men who know things that you don't know and can share that knowledge with you so that you don't repeat the same mistakes that they do. Like I said, it's great to be smart and being able to learn from your mistakes, but it's better to be wise and to learn from the mistakes of others. That's the ultimate key. That's the ultimate key. Let me look here. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, when you're with women, you have to crap test them. You really have to test these women. Like you have to basically, test them, see how they think, how they operate, what they're motivated by. Don't just give them value. Just like how they spend all this time testing us in the West, we have to test them in the East. We have to test them in the East. Let me see here. I talked about it years ago. Men leaving the West because the West is so destroyed. The West is destroyed. There's no coming back for the West. I've already said this to you guys. No matter who becomes president, no matter who's president next year, nothing will change. Nothing will change. We're still going to go down this terrible trajectory. 10 cities are still going to become a reality. Inflation is, you can't go back. We have over $30 trillion in debt. How are we supposed to pay this back? It doesn't matter who's in the White House. It does not matter who's in the White House right now. And a lot of these countries, as soon as for example, if the US dollar starts to go through issues, if the US dollar were to fall, all these other currencies that are pegged to the US dollar would collapse as well. It would be a global meltdown. It would be an absolute global meltdown because so many national currencies are essentially pegged to the US dollar. Highway says almost 35 trillion. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. There's no way that we can pay this amount back. And the craziest thing is that, guys, that number is only going to continue skyrocketing in the coming years. And the higher the national debt goes, the worse inflation will become. So they're basically stealing from us, which is one of the reasons why it's so important to own crypto and to own things like crypto and land. Because even as the value of your money declines, the value of your land will increase because that's actually tangible. Your crypto, you cannot make more of it. All right. So with most cryptos, for example, your own Bitcoin, they can't make more Bitcoin, and then it's constantly halving. So every time a halving happens, it becomes harder to mine Bitcoin, and because it becomes harder to mine Bitcoin and create new Bitcoins, that also causes the value of Bitcoin to become not only more stable but also to go up. So and it's based around use. So the more people that use Bitcoin, the more people that want Bitcoin, the more scarce it becomes, the more valuable it becomes. I remember when people were saying that cryptocurrency was like the tulip mania. Don't forget, the tulip mania went on for a long time, but the difference with tulips is tulips spoil. Crypto does not spoil. And the thing about fiat currency is the value of fiat currency always goes back to zero. Oh gosh. Black notes. Black Crow. Oh boy. So I'm guessing, so maybe Black Crow is one of my older. I don't know how long Black Crow has been listening to me, but there is a story that I have told, regarding the boomers and what's going to happen when the new generation finally starts to take over, and they're going to basically they're going to basically say, okay, well, we have to, we're in charge now. The boomers are mostly gone, and we have to take control of society. We've got to pay the bills. We've got to do this and this and this. And they're going to go to Fort Knox, and they're going to crack it open. And, they're thinking that in Fort Knox, you have all these stacks of money and gold bricks and all this and all this, precious gems. You name it, they have it there, at least a couple $1 trillion worth. And, they're going to crack the vaults open at Fort Knox, and they're going to step the Federal Reserve. They're going to step inside, and they're going to look, and then and instead of they're going to find paper in there, but it's not going to be bills. It's not going to be the kind of bills that you imagine. They're going to find bills, but they're not going to be dollar bills. They're not going to. They're going to be financial bills. They're going to be financial bills like IOUs. Like there's going to be a bunch of paper that's laying around like IOUs, and some of these things are going to go back to the founding of the country. Like this was due back in seven. This was due back like in like 17. Oh, what the heck? Didn't we pay for this war? Like how is this in here? Like how is this in here? Like this is not, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. Like it's filled. That place is not where they store money. That's where they store IOUs. That's where they store IOUs. The boomers have been stealing from the future to pay for the present for a long time. Like they have this thing that they use. I forget the exact term. This just to show you how much how badly how terrible these people are. They're to absolute crooks. There's this technique that they use where they'll say, okay, well, we want $1 billion, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this technique where the money won't we don't have to pay the money back until 20 or 30 years from now. But by then, enough income will have been generated by future generations to pay off this expense. So we're just going to borrow that money from the future and spend it in the present. These guys, it's absolute lunacy. And then we're going to print money out of thin air doing this. We're going to print money out of thin air by borrowing money from the future. We're going to print money out of thin air by borrowing money from the future, and the people of that time will pay for it. Guys, don't worry though. Everything will go to hell before we even reach those stages. Like everything happens within like a very like history repeats itself. And just like back in like I don't know if I forget if it was like 1918 or whatever 1918 1919, they had this big global event, and then fast forward 100 years 2020, something very similar happened. 1929 we had the Great Depression. The Great Depression began, and it happened because people were living like they thought things were much better than they were. And guess what? We know things aren't great right now, but we're basically living like things are better than they really are, when things are absolutely horrible, and they're lying about the numbers and everything else. It is what it is. It is what it is. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the content. I've been streaming for about 3 hours. So I've been streaming for about 3 hours. So I think you guys had a lot of fun. You got a lot of value. 61 people watching. That's a pretty decent number of people watching. If I'm more consistent, I'll probably go over 100 eventually. we'll have 100 people on these streams, because what it is that I don't stream as often. So, and you know, I'm trying to do that. I want to have a Saturday stream with you for like every Saturday. I want to do a stream for you guys. So you guys will have a stream every day, every Saturday, and I'll have like a bunch of different people on. I have a special guest coming up for you guys in a couple of weeks. It's not going to be this week. It's not going to be this week, but I have a very special guest coming on in a few weeks. So like, just so like, not this coming Saturday, but soon. I have a very special guest coming, and I think somebody that you guys are going to really enjoy. And hopefully like everything is, but I think it will work out. They're really awesome. So I'll have them on, and you know, I'm hopefully gonna do it live for you guys, so you'll be able to have ask your questions, and hopefully they'll be, after we do the stream, they'll be on regularly to talk crap. But I'm not gonna ruin it for you. No, it's not Tony Robbins. It's not Tony Robbins. It's not Mayumi. But it is someone whom you can guess. I'm not going to tell you who just yet, but it is someone that you should be able to guess. You know, I have Pearl Davis. It is, you know what? I'm not going to tell you if it's Pearl or not. Okay, I'm not going to tell you if it's Pearl or not, but it is someone. It is someone. Anyway, guys, that Tony Robbins is full of crap. No, it's not Tony Robbins. Oh gosh, guys, I hope you. What are you saying? I hope you guys really enjoyed the stream. I hope that, let me know if you guys want me to do more streams like this on a regular basis as well. But like I said, I plan on doing it regardless. Plan to have a Saturday stream for you guys. I used to stream every single day. That used to be my big thing before this channel, because I've been on YouTube for like almost 10 years, and I used to stream every single day. Live streams were my thing. I used to stream multiple times a day. Like I would have like a morning live stream, an evening, an afternoon live stream, and then several live streams in the evening as well. And people would just pop on, they're watching work, and it used to help people a lot. So I'm trying to go back to that, and we can see that more people are now engaging, jumping in, and watching the stream, and I think that's very, very positive, because it can bring happiness to some people, but at the same time, time is money, and money is time. Yeah. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, help get the channel to 100,000. Top G. Oh gosh, Celtics said Top G. Yeah, right. Nah, I'm not having anything to do with that guy until he's like, that whole Romania thing is behind him. No, it's not Forrest Whitaker. You guys are terrible. You guys are terrible at guessing. You are terrible at guessing. If you're enjoying the content, help get the channel to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. A lot of you guys think you're subscribed to the channel, and you are not subscribed to the channel. I want you to look at your phone right now. Like, open up your phone and look at it, and some of you will be like, and see if you're subscribed. And you're like, bro, I'm subscribed. Just do it. Just do it. Look at the screen if you're watching on a laptop. Just look at it and see if you're actually subscribed. And there's at least someone in the chat, probably a couple of you, that'll say, "Whoa, bro, I guess I'm not actually subscribed." Because the way it works on YouTube is they'll just push videos to you regardless if you're subscribed or not. But by subscribing, that makes sure that you're more likely to get a notification when I'm actually putting out content. Anyway, guys, that's everything I have for you. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you liked the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA. Ben walking away. And cheers.